Chapter 3076. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada, tell me why you are here. Yi Shiwen's words made Saint Emperor Golden Cicada slightly stunned. He did not expect that Yi Shiwen would still be willing to listen to him when the conflict between the two sides had erupted to this point. Ah, my eyes, my eyes! The green-eyed emperor covered his eyes and was still screaming. After his eyes were dug out, most of his power had been abolished, and he was even less of a threat. If he knew that the dual pupils that he had cultivated all his life had been completely mastered and refined by Yi Shiwen, he would probably vomit blood. Every emperor lord had something that they were good at. It wasn't something that others could learn. Just like Yi Shiwen's 3,000 martial art. Even an emperor lord would spit out a mouthful of old blood if they were to learn it. These were the Tao that Yi Shiwen had opened up himself. He had finally succeeded in becoming an emperor lord with this Tao. It was almost unprecedented. How could such a person be simple? If Yi Shiwen did not have the mysterious space, he would not be able to do this. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada glanced at the green-eyed emperor and was a little embarrassed. Yi Shiwen immediately understood what he meant and said, "I will not attack again. As for him, he will rest for some time to recover." When Yi Shiwen attacked previously, he did not attack heavily. He only seized the green-eyed emperor's dual pupils. Although he was seriously injured, it was not fatal. With the means and physique of an emperor lord, he only needed to spend a period of time to recover. In reality, in terms of healing, it did not take a long time at all. The Jade-Eye Emperor's eyes had already regrown, but they were just a pair of ordinary eyes. They were no longer the peerless divine eyes that had been tempered thousands of times and had not been worn down after experiencing thousands of tribulations. The green-eyed emperor stared at Yi Shiwen from the side, and a shocking hatred erupted in his eyes. An emperor lord could shake the earth and mountains, and materialize it was nothing. However, it was a pity that apart from Elder Chun, the other two people here would not be affected by his killing intent. However, he didn't dare to act rashly again. Just a moment ago, Yi Shiwen had destroyed his pair of eyes, and now, without the dual pupils, he had lost most of his martial power. It might be more than enough to deal with an average person, but dealing with Yi Shiwen was equivalent to courting death. Although he was domineering, he wasn't stupid. He just hated Yi Shiwen in his heart. Yi Shiwen didn't care about this hatred at all. After all, he was just a defeated opponent. However, there was a thought in his mind. This green-eyed emperor was really domineering. As an emperor, he was the noblest person in the world. He was high and mighty, so it was not a big deal for him to be domineering. However, he should not be a fool. Judging from the Jade-Eye Emperor's behavior just now, it definitely did not seem like he was just testing him. It was clear that he had the intention to anger him and even ruin this matter. If he was enraged, then no matter how sage Emperor Golden Cicada tried to make amends, this matter would definitely be completely ruined. Yi Shiwen wouldn't have suddenly killed him if it had been a simple probe. Who would have thought that their companion was just a figurehead? So, it was only natural that he would have tried to probe him. However, he shouldn't have suddenly attacked him. Instead, he would have attacked him in an extremely savage manner. This piqued Yi Shiwen's curiosity. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in the mood to listen to the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. Seeing that the green-eyed emperor was fine, the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. Unlike Yi Shiwen was alone. He could attack and leave whenever he wanted. Nothing could restrain him. However, he was backed by the Sky Commerce Alliance. Although he had obtained many benefits because of this, he was also bound to the Sky Commerce Alliance. He couldn't act recklessly. Since Taoist Martial Emperor has said so, I won't hide it anymore. I'll get straight to the point. This time, we're here to invite Taoist Martial Emperor to go to the Pan-Heavenly Palace. I wonder if you're interested? Said the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. Pan-Heavenly Palace? Yi Shiwen's eyes lit up. Although he had been in seclusion during this period of time, he was not completely ignorant about the Pan-Heavenly Palace. Seeing Yi Shiwen's expression, the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor knew that Yi Shiwen was interested. He was secretly happy. Since Yi Shiwen was interested, this matter was half done. Yes, the Pan-Heavenly Palace, said the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. We intend to go to the Pan-Heavenly Palace. We would like to invite Taoist Martial Emperor along. What do you think, Taoist Martial Emperor? I'm sorry. If it's the Pan-Heavenly Palace, then please go back. Yi Shiwen refused without hesitation. Although he was also very envious of the Pan-Heavenly Palace, he also knew what was courting death. He was confident in his own strength. He had already stepped into the fifth realm. He was not inferior to those experienced fifth realm experts. His combat power was even stronger. However, in the face of the Pan-Heavenly Palace, he was still too weak. Sha Di Battle Emperor, Sky-Shaking Turtle Emperor, Night Emperor. These were all famous giants in the Fortune God dynasty. If the Emperor's seventh realm and above were small giants, then these were undoubtedly the supergiants. They stood at the peak of the Fortune God realm. Unless there was a celestial master who had disappeared for a long time, no one dared to say that they could suppress them. These people would die if they bumped into one of them. No matter how conceited Yi Shiwen was, he did not dare to joke around with these people. He was confident that he could compete with these super giants in the future. However, it was not now. Compared to those emperors who had millions of years of cultivation, his mere tens of thousands of years of cultivation was not even a fraction of their cultivation. Now was not the time to rush to compete with these people. Listening to Taoist Martial Emperor, you must not know that the Eastern region and the Stormy Sea region have reached an understanding because of the Pan-Heavenly Palace. The Golden Cicada Saint Emperor was also a smart person. He immediately saw through Yi Shiwen's concerns and immediately explained to him. It turned out that as the situation gradually became tense, more and more experts from both sides gathered. It seemed that a life-and-death duel between the two forces was about to break out. At the last moment, both sides reluctantly reached an agreement. No one could monopolize the Pan-Heavenly Palace. Emperors were allowed to enter. However, the small giants of the seventh realm and above were not allowed to enter. There were no restrictions for others. Originally, no matter which side, the small giants of the seventh realm and above were the existence of a commanding force. They had a high position and were overseeing a region. They could not easily leave. In order to avoid a full-scale war, both sides finally agreed to this condition. The many emperors who were just watching but did not dare to make a move suddenly began to prepare to enter as if they had received an imperial edict. Without the participation of the big giants of the seventh realm and above, the danger was reduced a lot. The Pan-Heavenly Palace itself was very dangerous. However, the emperors who dared to participate were all capable. This level of danger was not enough to scare them. Taoist Martial Emperor is alone. It is normal that you don't know about this. However, this news will probably spread soon. At that time, you will know whether what I said is true or not, said the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. However, although the restrictions have been lifted, only those giants are qualified to enter. As far as I know, you have a conflict with the Heavenly Sect. The Heavenly Sect in the Eastern region is one of the leaders. With the Heavenly Sect in front, I think it will not be easy for you to enter the Pan-Heavenly Palace. This is a win-win situation. Beside him, Elder Chen's eyes lit up. For a quasi-emperor like him, the secrets of the emperors could only be known from ancient books. However, he was now able to hear the conversation between the emperors with his own ears. How could he not be excited? I believe in you. However, I am afraid that you are still hiding some things. You are only looking for someone to enter together. I am afraid that you will not find me here. You know that the Sky Business Alliance is very powerful. You have countless experts scattered all over the fortune world. You are more than enough to act alone. You don't need to look for me. I think I am right, Yi Shiwen said with a faint smile. Obviously, the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor wanted to say that he was helping to protect a person, and the Sky Business Alliance was covering for him to enter the Pan-Heavenly Palace. However, Yi Shiwen was not easily moved. The Golden Cicada Saint Emperor couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed when Yi Shiwen exposed him on the spot. However, he knew that the person in front of him was not someone who could be easily fooled. It is indeed so. The Sky Business Alliance has organized a group of experts to enter the Pan-Heavenly Palace. However, my mission this time has nothing to do with the Sky Business Alliance. Instead, it is a mission that I received previously. I need to escort a person into the Pan-Heavenly Palace, said the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. This matter must be carried out in secret. Therefore, we can't look for someone with great fanfare. Mr. Wu Di has always been low-key. You are the most suitable candidate. Moreover, there are not many people with the strength of Mr. Wu Di. This is the fundamental reason why we are looking for you. Yi Shiwen directly omitted the flattery in the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor's words. Instead, he went straight to the essence and said, escorting a person into the Pan-Heavenly Palace? Is it possible that you are not even an emperor? The Pan-Heavenly Palace was certainly dangerous. Even ancient creatures had appeared in it. However, for an emperor, it was not so dangerous that he couldn't even get close to it. There had to be some hidden factors in it. Yes. The Golden Cicada Saint Emperor was slightly startled. However, he still nodded. What I want to know is, who is this person? He's not even a sovereign emperor, but he's able to invite a sovereign emperor realm expert to escort him. I'm afraid this person's identity is not simple. Moreover, it's not enough to invite a sovereign emperor to escort a person who's not even a sovereign emperor. How many people are plotting against him? I have to find out all these things, otherwise I won't agree. Yi Shiwen had great ambitions for the Pan-Heavenly Palace. However, it did not mean that he was willing to get involved in a matter that he did not know the ins and outs of. Chapter 3077. There were too many dangers in this world. Although it was not suicidal to get involved in a matter inexplicably, there were many uncertainties and great dangers. Moreover, it was such a strange matter. No matter how one looked at it, it was dangerous. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada was a little embarrassed. Yi Shiwen was more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. He did not relax his vigilance because of the previous words. He quickly found the key point in Yi Shiwen's words. Fortunately, this entanglement only lasted for a while. In fact, he had considered many situations before coming. Of course, the matter of the green-eyed emperor was not within his expectations. He did not expect that the green-eyed emperor would suddenly launch an attack. What was even more unexpected was that even if the green-eyed emperor suddenly launched an attack, he was still not Yi Shiwen's opponent. Instead, his double pupils were dug out and he was seriously injured. It could be said that he suffered a double loss. If that's the case, then I'll say it directly. As you said, there is an inside story. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada said. However, very quickly, Elder Chen, who was beside him, couldn't hear a single word. He was clearly beside him, but he couldn't hear a single word. It was like listening to an emperor preach the Tao. It was a mysterious realm. He could clearly hear it, but in reality, he couldn't remember anything. He soon knew that this was because Saint Emperor Golden Cicada did not want him to know. With the means of the Emperor, if he did not want him to know, it would be meaningless for him to explore, even if he was next to the two of them. At the same time, he also knew that it was best for him not to get involved in this level of matters. A quasi-emperor getting involved in the matters of the Emperor was undoubtedly courting death. In fact, I received a commission to escort a person into the Celestial Palace. This person used to be the reincarnation of the Emperor's spirit. Now that he has recultivated, he wants to find his previous life's body. Once he succeeds, his cultivation will naturally advance by leaps and bounds. It will not be a problem to enter the Emperor realm, said Saint Emperor Golden Cicada. Yi Shiwen suddenly understood. It turned out to be like this. No wonder. This kind of spirit reincarnation was not the same thing as regenerating spiritual wisdom in a corpse. After all, that wisp of spirit was the original owner. As long as he could find his physical body and integrate it, his cultivation would not be a problem at all. Of course, it was impossible to recover all the cultivation of his previous life. As long as he recovered a portion of his cultivation and memories, it would not be difficult for him to advance to the sovereign emperor realm. However, such a thing was indeed rare. The chances of an imperial emperor being killed with a wisp of his essence soul escaping and reincarnating was not very high. So he was once a sovereign emperor. No wonder he could afford to hire a sovereign emperor as a guard. Yi Shiwen said. It wouldn't be strange if they were former emperors. Who knew if those emperors had buried any treasures? They were undoubtedly super rich compared to ordinary cultivators. But if that's the case, then why did it attract the attention of an emperor-king level master? Even you, Taoist friend, couldn't protect him and had to find someone else? Yi Shiwen asked. Fellow Taoist, your eyes are indeed sharp. Sage Emperor Golden Cicada said, because this person used to have a lot of enemies. To be safe, we invited many fellow Taoists. As long as we can get the body back, everything will be worth it. I won't hide it from you, fellow Taoists. In fact, this person was a good friend of mine in my previous life. I was the one who personally escorted his soul to reincarnation. It's my duty to lend him a hand. Do you agree or not? If you don't, then forget it. Green-eyed Emperor finally spoke. After this period of time, his wounds finally stopped bleeding, and his eyes no longer shed tears of blood. He just stared at Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen glanced at Green-eyed Emperor and said, well, if that's the case, I'll accept this deal. I also want to ask, what's the reward this time? Can I pay in advance? Of course, it should be the meaning of the question. Sage Emperor Golden Cicada saw Yi Shiwen said so, and immediately said, this time, as long as fellow Taoist is willing to help, regardless of success or failure, 10 level 3 dragon veins, how about it? Even with Yi Shiwen's current wealth, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Just the reward for his escort alone was a total of 10 level 3 dragon veins. This was a high-grade dragon's vein, not a mediocre dragon's vein. Right now, his most important asset was the level 2 dragon's vein. 10 level 3 dragon's veins were equivalent to 1/10 of his net worth. Even he was tempted by it. This time, the employer was really rich. He was probably not an ordinary person in his previous life. After all, it was unimaginable for ordinary people to step into the Emperor realm by integrating the physical body of his previous life. If an ordinary Emperor realm of the first realm died, even if he was lucky enough to reincarnate his soul, it was impossible to step into the Emperor realm by integrating the physical body. At the very least, he had to be at the 4th or 5th realm before it was possible. Moreover, this person was actually buried in the Heavenly Palace. The last time the Heavenly Palace opened was countless years ago. This person's origin was also frighteningly ancient. 10 dragon veins were enough for him to completely consolidate the cultivation of the 5th realm and greatly increase his combat power. Of course, what really made him decide to get involved in this mess was the matter of entering the Heavenly Palace. The major forces of the Eastern region and the Stormy Sea region had obviously reached an agreement to jointly control the Heavenly Palace, not giving others any chance to enter at all. It was naturally not difficult for a wild fox, Zen loose cultivator like Yi Shiwen to enter with the identity of the Emperor realm. However, it was difficult to say if he was involved in the affairs of heavenly Taoism. If he used the network of the Heavenly Commerce Alliance, he could easily avoid this point. Therefore, even if Yi Shiwen knew that Saint Emperor Golden Cicada was more or less hiding something, he still decided to participate. No matter what, he would not lose. The only thing that made him a little puzzled was the attitude of the Green Eye Emperor. In any case, the Green Eye Emperor was too excited. If he guessed correctly, the Green Eye Emperor should only be hired by them. However, he was so excited. Was he afraid that Yi Shiwen would take a share? Many doubts flashed in Yi Shiwen's mind. No problem, as long as the 10 dragon veins arrive, I can go at any time, said Yi Shiwen. This place was originally bought for closed-door cultivation. Now that he had entered the 5th realm, this place had no value. Naturally, he could leave at any time. That's the best. This time, I have already brought the 10 dragon veins. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada quickly handed the 10 dragon veins to Yi Shiwen. As the saying goes, a long night is fraught with trouble. He was concerned about his good friend, so he naturally did not want any more twists and turns in this matter. Yi Shiwen inspected the 10 dragon veins. They were indeed of superior quality. They would also be of great use to the Emperor realm. Yi Shiwen accepted the dragon veins and said, "When you want to leave, just let me know in advance. Since Taoist Martial Emperor can leave at any time, that's the best. In fact, Taoist Martial Emperor is already the last person we invited. Now everything is ready. We only need the east wind. We can leave tomorrow. This matter should be done as soon as possible," said Saint Emperor Golden Cicada. "I have no objections," said Yi Shiwen. After finalizing many details, Saint Emperor Golden Cicada left with the Green Eye Emperor and Elder Qin. Until the end, the Green Eye Emperor was still staring at Yi Shiwen with hatred in his eyes. This also made Yi Shiwen a little vigilant. For such a vindictive person, even if he was not his opponent and was just a defeated opponent, he still had to guard against being bitten back by him. He had to be a little more careful. Moreover, this matter was revealing a kind of strange inside and out. He also had to be vigilant. After entering the Heavenly Palace, this escort mission would be considered over. The biggest problem was still on the Heavenly Sect's side. He was very clear that the Heavenly Sect had not given up on searching for him. At any time, the first huge collision might break out. His whereabouts had already been exposed. In particular, the Green Eye Emperor had just called out his identity. Now that there was such a conflict, perhaps it was not impossible for him to secretly inform the Heavenly Sect. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada was afraid that a long night was fraught with trouble, and he was also afraid that a long night was fraught with trouble. If this continued, the Heavenly Sect would search for him, and another big battle would be inevitable. He was not afraid of a big battle, but he felt that there was no need to fight to the death with the Heavenly Sect now. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen's figure had already disappeared from this small courtyard. The small world that was originally opened up was also easily taken away by him. The neighbors on the entire street did not feel anything at all. In fact, they did not even know that Yi Shiwen had already left. In the entire street, this small courtyard had already become a legend. In particular, Wang Jun's success had opened another life-changing door for them, leading to an unknown world. Even though Yi Shiwen had continuously rejected many people, it could not extinguish the desire in their hearts. There was no one who did not hope that they could achieve meteoric success and obtain that legendary power. However, compared to other races, the innate aptitude of the human race was not too strong. Except for a few races, the rest did not have any special bloodlines or special powers at all. The only way for them to embark on the road of cultivation was to become a disciple of an expert. Because of this, the human race was not innately strong. Instead, there were countless Hotian experts. They had unlimited possibilities. Not long after Yi Shiwen left, a terrifying aura descended on the entire street. A powerful figure emerged from the void. The people on the entire street only felt that the end of the world was coming. They could only tightly kneel on the ground, suppressed to the point that they could not move. Yi Shiwen has already left. We let him escape. Damn it. An extremely angry voice came from that figure. Search, continue to expand the range. I don't believe that he can run anywhere. We must catch him before he enters the heavenly palace. At this time, above the sea region thousands of miles away, a ray of light flashed in Yi Shiwen's hand, and a lot of information appeared in his mind. As expected, the news must have been leaked by the Green Eye Emperor. It seems that I really have to be careful. Chapter 3078. Yi Shiwen had left a backup plan in the original small courtyard. As long as an Emperor Lord level figure came over, he would immediately be alerted. Sure enough, not long after he left, someone rushed over. It was not difficult for Yi Shiwen to guess that it should be the blue-eyed Emperor who leaked the secret. His eyes were full of murderous intent. If the Green Eye Emperor had acted previously, it could be understood that he had other plans. However, he betrayed his position in the blink of an eye. This had crossed Yi Shiwen's bottom line. He must find a way to eradicate this person. Since it had really come to this, there was no need to be merciful. Kill decisively, gentle as jade. Everything depended on Yi Shiwen's thoughts. No matter who was behind the Green Eye Emperor, Yi Shiwen would not easily let a person who had murderous intent against him live. Above was the deep and endless sky. Below was the stormy waves that were tens of thousands of feet high. In the distance was the country of countless demons and hurricanes. Yi Shiwen's figure slowly disappeared in the endless waves. When he reappeared, he was already in the depths of the stormy sea region. At this time, in Yi Shiwen's small courtyard, that figure was still furious. We still let him escape. What the hell are you guys doing? You must find him. This was an extremely dignified young man. His figure was like the sun in the sky, emitting bursts of golden light. At his side, several figures appeared at the same time. They were also Emperor Lord level masters. In order to capture Yi Shiwen, it could be said that all the masters of heavenly Taoism nearby had been mobilized. However, they were still a step too late, and Yi Shiwen had escaped first. Have you found the person who passed the message to us? This dignified young man asked again. Since Yi Shiwen had escaped first, he immediately thought of finding a breakthrough from the person who passed the message. Since that person knew Yi Shiwen's whereabouts and refused to show up, the greatest possibility was that he had some kind of connection with Yi Shiwen, causing him to be unable to appear. At the same time, he wished that Yi Shiwen would die earlier. This was the only way. Reporting to Senior, we have not been able to find the person who passed the message. This person was extremely careful when passing the message. He did not leave any clues at all. Even if I wanted to calculate, there is no way to calculate. It should be an Emperor Lord. Someone said cautiously. Several other Emperor Lords also looked at this young man carefully. Although they were all Emperor Lords, there was a huge difference in status between the giants of the Seventh Realm and ordinary Emperor Lord. You must find that Yi Shiwen. Then, prepare yourself. If you can't find him, then enter the Pantheon Palace to look for him. According to the information we received, Yi Shiwen should find a way to sneak into the Pantheon Palace. Find him and kill him. I want his head to be hung on the city wall to deter the thieves. Do you understand? The young man said. Although he knew that Yi Shiwen might follow him into the Emperor Lord Palace, he had no way to stop him. Yi Tian Taoism. The reason was simple. Tian Tian power as he is possible. He as he could Yi Lord. That Tian Tian Lord. Every major force that had sent their people to get a share of this matter was a colossus. Even if the heavenly Taoism was powerful, it was impossible for them to check every force one by one. Therefore, they could only hope to find and kill Yi Shiwen as soon as possible. If that didn't work, then they could only kill him after entering the heavenly palace. Anyway, the Emperor Lord Palace was smaller. It was easier. However, you guys have to be careful. This guy is ferocious. According to the information we received, he should be an expert of the fourth realm. Don't let him escape, the young man said. He was not worried that these Emperor Lords were not a match for him. He was just afraid that Yi Shiwen would escape. Senior, don't worry. This time we will go personally. It will be useless even if he can escape. A mere fourth realm dares to be presumptuous in front of us. At this time, a Emperor Lord said. His tone was full of disdain. A fourth realm Emperor Lord was already extremely powerful in the eyes of many. However, in his opinion, it was just a little trickier. Moreover, he was not the only one taking action this time. That's right. Senior, don't worry. We will go personally. There is no reason for us to fail. Yes, we will definitely behead him in public. That's good. After killing him, you can stay in the Heavenly Palace for a while. This time, due to the agreement between the two camps, we can't enter. However, you guys are different. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If any of you can obtain the inheritance of the Heavenly Venerate, our heavenly Taoism will have another peerless figure in the future. The young man's tone was also a bit envious. This time, the Emperor Lords of the seventh realm and above were forbidden to enter. This was to prevent the conflict between the two sides from erupting to an unmanageable stage. However, he was stuck at the seventh realm. He could not help but feel envious. Understood. Thank you for the reminder, Senior. A day passed quickly. The heavenly Taoism sect's action with great fanfare soon alarmed all the influential figures in the entire Sky Star City. Many people immediately knew that the heavenly Taoism sect was hunting down an extraordinary figure. In order to hunt him down, they even sent out several Emperor Lords. Sovereign emperors were lofty figures everywhere. How could an ordinary person be worthy of so many lofty figures mobilizing so many lofty figures? Amidst the endless demon storm, countless powerful creatures from the outer realms surrounded a figure in the center and attacked. However, no matter how powerful they were, they could not shake the person in the center in the slightest. He stood there like a god descending to the mortal world. He was the only center of the universe, and all the laws revolved around him. There were all kinds of powerful beings from the outer realms, but none of them could truly shake that person's divine kingdom. That person opened his eyes, and in an instant, the demonic storm was completely annihilated. It was as if there was a ball of fire burning fiercely, burning them into ashes. Suddenly, the surrounding sea became clear. The endless demon kingdom was no longer there. These foreign creatures might be a threat to ordinary people. However, for Yi Shiwen, their lives and deaths were only a matter of a thought. In one night, Yi Shiwen had already devoured and refined a level 3 dragon vein. His martial power had also completely stabilized. Not only that, it had increased by a large margin. With his current cultivation level, if he didn't directly devour this level 3 dragon vein, he didn't know how long it would take for him to cultivate to such an extent. For the Emperor Lord's cultivation, every step forward was extremely difficult. It was easy to fill a water tank, but it was easier said than done to fill an ocean. To make up for the gap in cultivation time with others, he had to devour resources. He was like a huge black hole that devoured resources all the time. There would never be a day when he would stop. It is really not a good idea to cultivate in the stormy sea region, Yi Shiwen muttered to himself. He had sensed the divine senses of several Emperor-level powerhouses sweeping over him during the day's practice. If it weren't for their relatively low cultivation level, they wouldn't have dared to act rashly in the face of Yi Shiwen's aura. Otherwise, Yi Shiwen would have had to face several fierce battles last night. Fortunately, he had been in closed-door cultivation in Sky Star City for the past 20 years. Otherwise, he would not have been able to cultivate in peace. Time's up. Let's go meet up first. Yi Shiwen flew towards a place in the stormy sea region according to their previous agreement. As expected, there were already people waiting nearby. In addition to Saint Emperor Golden Cicada and Jade Eye Emperor, there was also a two-headed giant. This person was burly but had two heads. Yi Shiwen slightly opened his double pupils, and could see that his body was incomparably huge. In fact, it was like a pillar supporting the sky. His two heads were in charge of two completely different water and fire principles respectively. His comprehension of these two principles had also reached an extremely profound realm. In fact, even the principles on his body could be seen everywhere. And these two completely different and even opposing laws did not resist his body at all. On the contrary, there was a feeling that they were naturally integrated into one. And beside him, there was a young man dressed in luxurious clothes. However, he did not have the innocent expression of a young man. On the contrary, there was a kind of vicissitude that a young man did not have, as if he had experienced the world. Compared to the others, his cultivation was undoubtedly the weakest. He had not even reached the emperor level. He only had the cultivation of peak emperor level. For ordinary people, peak emperor level was already a high and mighty figure. However, in the eyes of the emperor level, it was nothing. Yi Shiwen thought about it and immediately knew that this young man should be the legendary close friend of Saint Emperor Golden Cicada, the person who only had a trace of spirit left and reincarnated. "Fellow Yi, you are here?" Saint Emperor Golden Cicada greeted him. "Let me introduce you. This is Fire and Water Saint Emperor, and this is my close friend that I mentioned to you before. Now, his name after reincarnation is Fong Byron. Everyone, let me introduce you. This is the martial Emperor Yi Shiwen, that even heavenly Taoism can't do anything to." Yi Shiwen glanced at the young man. "His name is Byron. This is definitely not a Byron who swallows humiliation. I'm afraid he is also an extraordinary person. However, this was not the time to talk about this." Yi Shiwen immediately took a step forward and said, "Before escorting fellow Byron, I think I have a personal matter to deal with." As Yi Shiwen spoke, his gaze turned to Jade Eye Emperor. Jade Eye Emperor panicked slightly, but he shouted, "Why are you looking at me?" Chapter 3079. Why are you looking at me? The green-eyed emperor was a little flustered at first, but he soon calmed down and just stared at Yi Shiwen coldly. "Why am I looking at you? I think you should be very clear in your heart." Yi Shiwen's expression was indifferent and somewhat indifferent. "What are you trying to say?" The green-eyed emperor's expression suddenly turned cold. The golden cicada sage emperor seemed to have thought of something, and his face suddenly became gloomy. He vaguely knew what Yi Shiwen was going to say. Today, the heavenly star city was under martial law. The people of heavenly Tao were searching everywhere. They were searching with great fanfare. They didn't have any intention to do it secretly. Their target was Yi Shiwen. They had just gone to see Yi Shiwen yesterday. Then, Yi Shiwen's target had been exposed. And the heavenly Taoism had already searched there. How could there be such a coincidence? They knew that something was wrong when they thought about it. Between the two of them, it was impossible for him to betray Yi Shiwen at this time, and there was no need. Then, there was only one possibility, and that was that the green-eyed emperor had betrayed Yi Shiwen's location. These things did not even need any evidence. As long as there was suspicion, it was enough. Moreover, he had seen the grudge between Yi Shiwen and the green-eyed emperor with his own eyes yesterday. The green-eyed emperor had his double pupils dug out. This grudge was not small. In theory, it was indeed excusable, but he could not forgive such a thing. Because this matter was related to his close friend. If this attracted the Tian Dao, and caused their trip to go up in smoke, how could he let it go? Although it was a private matter this time, it was possible to mobilize the forces of the Tian Business Alliance to deal with the green-eyed emperor. Fortunately, it was not the worst situation. The green-eyed emperor did not expose their location to the people of Tian Dao. Otherwise, the people of Tian Dao would have arrived. If things were really bad to that extent, he would definitely kill the green-eyed emperor immediately. After all, the green-eyed emperor had taken benefits from him, and still dared to cause trouble for him. It was simply a traitor. As for the other two, they had a confused look on their faces. They did not know what kind of grudges existed between the two of them. There would not be any life and death conflicts between the emperors. Once it happened, something extraordinary must have happened. The person who leaked the news to the Tiandao should be you, Yi Shiwen said coldly. What, me? How did you get discovered by the heavenly Taoism? What does that have to do with me? You are arrogant and despotic. Who knows how many people you have offended? Who knows how many people are plotting against you in the dark? Blue-Eye Emperor said coldly. He just looked at Yi Shiwen, seemingly confirming that Yi Shiwen wouldn't make a move like this. It's really funny. You've just left, and the people of Tiandao have already arrived. Do you dare to say that this has nothing to do with you? Yi Shiwen coldly smiled. What does this have to do with me? Do you have any evidence? Blue-Eye Emperor looked at Yi Shiwen coldly and asked. Evidence? Do I need that thing? Yi Shiwen stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His expression was indifferent and incomparably domineering. Blue-Eye Emperor suddenly had an excited expression on his face. Yi Shiwen was more indifferent and ruthless than he had imagined. He was arrogant and domineering. He actually said in front of him that he didn't need any evidence at all. All he needed was suspicion. Anyone with a little bit of brain could see that it was him who had done this. However, the biggest reason why he had dared to appear here today was that Yi Shiwen didn't have any evidence. He had handled everything very cleanly. Even the heavenly Taoism didn't know that it was him who had leaked the information. So, Yi Shiwen was even more out of the question. However, Yi Shiwen's attitude was more arrogant than he had imagined. Evidence? What was that? Was there a need for that? He only needed to be suspicious. This had always been his attitude towards others. If he suspected that someone was going to harm him, he would always kill the person directly. He didn't need any evidence at all. With the strength and deduction ability of the emperors, the probability of a wrong deduction was too small. Do you think that no one will know that you did it without evidence? You underestimate us too much. As an emperor, I think you are very clear about the means of the emperors. Since you did such a thing, you should have expected such a day to come. Yi Shiwen smiled slightly, but the aura on his body was increasing at an astonishing speed. It gradually expanded, and the aura was like a rainbow, spreading in all directions like a storm. The Jade-Eye Emperor was not to be outdone. The dual pupils in his eyes exploded once again, and the aura on his body grew stronger and stronger. It was even stronger than the day before. In just one night, he felt that he had improved again, and he was not far from level 5. This was also the greatest source of confidence for the Blue-Eye Emperor. His strength was stronger than yesterday. In just one night there had been a transformation. He looked at Yi Shiwen with even more resentment in his eyes. Yesterday, Yi Shiwen had gouged out his dual pupils, causing him to suffer a heavy loss. He didn't know how many resources he had consumed to finally recover his dual pupils overnight and advance a step further. The aura of the two burst out. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, countless creatures were completely worshipped under the aura of these two emperors. They were trembling with fear. Whether they had spiritual intelligence or not, they had to kneel. Those without spiritual intelligence could even feel the extremely terrifying existence in the aura of the two. Listen to me, both of you. Today, I don't care what kind of personal grudges you have. You must wait until the matter on my side is over before you settle it. If anyone dares to make a move first, don't blame me for helping the other side. The golden cicada Saint Emperor took a step forward, and immediately destroyed the aura of the two. Everyone's eyes turned to Yi Shiwen because they were very clear that whether this matter would become big or small depended on Yi Shiwen's decision. However, everyone was also very clear that an emperor who had been plotted against would absolutely not let it go. Otherwise, how could a dignified emperor keep his face? For the sake of the golden cicada Saint Emperor, I can let this matter go for now. Unexpectedly, Yi Shiwen, who was aggressive just now, was the first to let go at this time. Perhaps he was giving the golden cicada Saint Emperor face, or perhaps he was not sure that he could defeat the golden cicada Saint Emperor and the blue-eyed emperor at the same time, or perhaps there were other considerations. In short, Yi Shiwen took the lead to let go, which made the golden cicada Saint Emperor and Fong Byron slightly relieved. No one was willing to complicate matters at this critical juncture. There was nothing more important than getting back his physical body. Humph! The blue-eyed emperor just snorted coldly, looking as if he was not going to argue with Yi Shiwen. However, there was still a bit of resentment and coldness in his eyes. In that case, both of you should restrain yourselves for the time being. After this matter is over, both of us will owe you a favor. If there is a chance, we won't hesitate to go through water and tread on fire," said the golden cicada Saint Emperor. Everyone couldn't help but be a little moved. For an emperor, such a promise was undoubtedly very heavy. Moreover, he made such a promise not for himself, but for his best friend. The friendship between the two could be seen from this. Previously, when Fong Byron reincarnated, it was the golden cicada Saint Emperor who single-handedly protected him into reincarnation. For the emperor level, the friendship between the two was indeed more valuable than 1,000 gold. Well, everyone, this matter should not be delayed. Let's set off as soon as possible. Fong Byron said a little impatiently. It was of great significance for him to be able to cultivate back to the emperor level. Not every fallen emperor had the opportunity to reincarnate. Among them, those who could re-enter the emperor level were even rarer. Even if it was only the first realm of the emperor level, it was much stronger than the peak of the emperor level. Everyone looked at each other and reached an agreement. Even Yi Shiwen and the blue-eyed emperor did not have any more conflict. Everyone was a powerful emperor. Although Fong Byron was not an emperor, his magical body technique was also very fast. In just a moment, he flew towards the depths of the Storm Sea region. His target was the crack in the Pantheon Palace. Although it was far away, it was within everyone's line of sight. It did not affect everyone's advance at all. Along the way, there were no powerful foreign creatures blocking their way. This was because those powerful emperor-level creatures and foreign creatures had also gone to the Pantheon Palace. Although the two camps had reached an agreement that the giants of the seventh realm and above would not enter the Pantheon Palace, many ordinary emperor-level creatures and emperor-level creatures had entered the Pantheon Palace. Especially for many of the foreign emperor-level creatures, the Pantheon Palace had an even bigger secret. In the past, Pantheon Tianzuan had cut off his own Tao in the body of a foreign creature. From then on, he was reborn and cultivated the Tao of the laws. Finally, he succeeded in becoming a heavenly master-level expert. For many emperor-level creatures of the Fortune God dynasty, this might not matter at all. After all, they cultivated the Tao of the laws. But for the foreign creatures, this was crucial. Because even the emperor-level creatures had a lifespan of tens of millions of years. Compared to the eternal emperor-level creatures, they could not even compare to the ordinary gods. How could these powerful creatures, who dominated the world, endure this? Finding a way to cut off their own Tao had always been the pursuit of these foreign creatures. Only with enough time could they truly step into the heavenly master level. Otherwise, they would not have so much time. Although their cultivation speed was faster than the ordinary emperor-level creatures, their lifespan was their biggest and most fatal weakness. For many emperor-level creatures, perhaps it was related to a powerful inheritance, but for the emperor-level creatures it was related to their lives. Therefore, when this news spread, even the powerful emperor-level creatures in other places were alarmed. So far, it was impossible to calculate how many Emperor-level creatures had entered the Pantheon Palace. Chapter 3080. They finally arrived at the Pan-Heavenly Palace. Everyone entered the crack. Even with their cultivation, it took them a few days and nights to finally reach the crack of the Pan-Heavenly Palace. This place was closer to the outer domain, so in fact, the outer domain creatures were more powerful here. Many Emperor Lords in the Eastern Domain were actually in a relatively weak state. Although it was called the Pan-Heavenly Palace, it was actually another world. A world built with the Pan-Heavenly Palace as its foundation. It was also the last stronghold of the Pan-Heavenly Venerate. At that time, the most elite subordinates of the Pan-Heavenly Venerate had been stationed there. Most of them had been killed, but the remaining people had slowly evolved into many tribes and tribes. This was also the fundamental reason why the outer domain creatures could still be seen in this world. As soon as they entered, they immediately discovered that the world of the Pan-Heavenly Palace was actually an incomparably huge battlefield. Collapsing laws and void cracks could be seen everywhere. In some places, even time was flowing at a strange speed. The primordial heroic spirits wandered in it, and the roars of the ancient evil spirits lingered in their ears. Everything was full of mystery and danger. In this world, white bones could be seen everywhere, piled up like mountains. The whole world was a scene of white bones, at least in front of their eyes. Among these white bones, there was a mysterious and terrifying divine sense lingering within. There were many evil spirits attached to them, hiding. It seemed that there was some kind of extremely terrifying will hidden within, and it could give people a fatal blow at any time. These white bones were not ordinary people. Many of them were emitting bursts of golden light. After countless years, the golden light could still reach the sky. It was eye-catching. They were extremely tyrannical experts when they were alive, and their heroic spirits were still lingering after their deaths. Everyone, be careful. The Pan-Heavenly Palace is more dangerous than we thought. Not to mention the Emperor-level existences of the outer domain, let alone the outer domain creatures. Even the evil spirits contained in these white bones cannot be underestimated. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada said with narrowed eyes. Don't worry. With our strength, nothing will dare to come close to us. Saint Emperor Water and Fire was completely confident. After all, there were 4 imperial monarchs here. Even a team of this level had suffered a crushing defeat here, so there was really nothing more to say. However, even so, 2 laws of water and fire appeared on his body, forming an armor. It emitted a burst of amazing light, showing an extremely tyrannical defensive power. It might even have amazing destructive power. The others did not dare to underestimate this place. There were too many legends about the Pan-Heavenly Palace, and most of them were not so friendly. If they were defeated here, it would be shameful. Yi Shiwen's time robe also appeared. There was still a big hole in his chest. He had not found anything that could repair the time heavenly robe yet. If he wanted to repair the time robe, he would need the power of time. However, the power of time he could condense to repair the time robe was as rare as phoenix feathers and Qilin horns. He would need the legendary time fragments to do so. However, time fragments were the same as space fragments. They were both mysterious existences that had existed since ancient times and were rarely seen since ancient times. These so-called time fragments and space fragments were not in the ordinary sense. Instead, they were pure crystalline fragments condensed from the laws of time and space due to a certain reason. It was impossible to find it under normal circumstances. The conditions for its formation were too rare. Yi Shiwen had traveled all over the heavens and 10,000 worlds for so many years, but he hadn't found another piece of time fragment. Otherwise, he would have been able to repair it long ago. Throughout the ages, only the Time Master had managed to find a fragment of time and eventually refined it into the time robe. After that, no one had been able to find it again. Even so, there was no need to mention the defensive power of the time robe. Without the means of Emperor Primordius, how could one possibly break through the time robe? The power of time was the strongest power in the world. It was also the strangest power. There were many mysteries within it. Even Yi Shiwen couldn't fully understand them. Everyone put up their own defenses. Then, Fong Byron said, I've already sensed the location of my body after entering this pan-heavenly palace. It's currently imprisoned by a restriction. We just need to follow this feeling. Fong Byron took the lead and flew towards the place he had sensed after he said this. He suddenly felt dizzy as he flew towards the depths of the pan-heavenly palace. He had entered layers upon layers of time and space in this world. The distortion of time and space in this world was too severe. This world had experienced many wars. An ordinary world would have been completely destroyed by now. However, it was still preserved. This in itself showed that it was unusual. Suddenly, a huge bony claw came out of the endless abyss from the void. It directly grabbed Fong Byron, who was at the forefront of the team. This bony claw was golden. It seemed as if it was made of pure gold. Some traces of the Great Way were engraved on the bony claw. There was a kind of simple and esoteric texture hidden in it. You're courting death. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada reacted immediately. His eyes lit up. Then, he forced out a sword aura from his fingertip and slashed at the bony claw. Bang! There was a huge roar. The sword aura and the bony claw collided. The attack of an Emperor Primordius could be described as earth-shattering. However, a shocking scene happened. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada's attack failed to destroy the bony claw. On the contrary, an endless golden shield rose from the bony claw and completely blocked the sword aura. This bony claw also had an extraordinary origin. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to block the sword aura. The bony claw seized the opportunity to grab Fong Byron. It seemed to know that Fong Byron's cultivation was the weakest among these people. Therefore, it was merciless in its attack. At this moment, Jade-Eye Emperor and Fire-Water Divine Emperor realized the seriousness of the problem. Originally, they thought that Saint Emperor Golden Cicada's attack was enough. However, the reality was far more than that. However, it was too late. The bony claw had already grabbed Fong Byron's body. Even Fong Byron, who had experienced many trials and tribulations, revealed a panicked expression. Am I really going to die before I succeed? I'm already at the last step. Am I going to die here? At this critical moment, a white palm grabbed from the void. It grabbed the bony claw and pulled it away from its original trajectory. I'm saved. Fong Byron immediately breathed a sigh of relief. At this critical moment, he avoided the most fatal attack. When he looked again, he discovered that the person who saved him at this critical moment was none other than Yi Shiwen. At this critical moment, Yi Shiwen moved like lightning and grabbed the bony claw. Come out! Yi Shiwen suddenly pulled hard. Suddenly, there was a violent tremor in the void. Then, a huge white skeleton was pulled out from the void. This huge skeleton was more than 10 feet tall. It wasn't the largest among the countless huge white skeletons. However, it revealed a terrifying aura. This skeleton had 4 limbs, and the one that attacked just now was one of the claws. His entire body was emitting a mysterious law of the Great Path. It was obvious that he was an emperor when he was alive. At this moment, he was hiding in the void. As he was hiding in the void, everyone didn't notice him for a moment and fell into his trap. It should be known that many of the spatial turbulences were broken by the Emperor's great power. There were also many terrifying law remnants and magical power remnant. Even with the magical power and eyesight of the Emperor, the range that they could see was still very limited. Roar! This skeleton opened its mouth and let out a loud roar that shook the heavens and earth. Bastard, you're courting death! Holy Emperor of Water and Fire roared. The law of water and fire in his hands turned into weapons that covered the sky and bombarded towards this skeleton. On the other side, a gloomy look flashed in the eyes of Blue-Eye Emperor. However, He didn't hesitate and attacked on the spot. Yi Shiwen and Holy Emperor of Golden Cicada also attacked at the same time. Even though this corpse had been a sovereign monarch when it was alive and had gained sentience later on, it was only a match for an ordinary sovereign monarch at most. How could it possibly survive the joint attack of 4 sovereign monarchs? It was sent flying on the spot. His golden skeleton was instantly densely covered with wounds. The mysterious patterns and the great paths formation lines couldn't resist the joint attack of several angry emperors. Originally, he didn't want to confront them head-on. He just wanted to sneak attack Fong Byron and escape quickly. However, he didn't expect Yi Shiwen to see through his real body. He was suddenly pulled out from the layers of the void and exposed his real body. How could he be a match for these few people? Let's finish this quickly. We can't stay here. Otherwise, we may attract other unclean things. Fong Byron suddenly roared. The sneak attack just now had made him accumulate endless anger. He released it all at once. After all, he used to be a supreme emperor. It was a great shame to be sneak attacked by a dead monster. Yes. The others also nodded. They were also very clear that this place wasn't suitable to stay for long. There were dangers everywhere in the Pantheon Palace. They had to be careful everywhere. Bang! 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 A series of loud sounds rang out, all from the joint attacks of several sovereign lords. The corpse was sent flying many times. Even with the toughness of a sovereign lord's corpse, it could not withstand the attacks in the end, and it exploded on the spot. After dealing with this skeleton, everyone didn't hesitate and flew away directly. Chapter 3081. The depths of the heavenly palace were far more dangerous than the outside. Along the way, there were many bone demons with Emperor Realm cultivation. There were even powerful foreign creatures lurking within. These foreign creatures all had an ancient aura. They were very ancient and terrifying. Many of their attacking methods were very ancient. It was not the current system at all. As everyone moved forward, there was a terrifying pressure. Even though they were Emperor Realm cultivators, they could not tear through space and travel. Although flying was fast, it was still slower than tearing through space. Coupled with the obstruction of many bone demons and foreign creatures, the speed of everyone's advance was not as fast as expected. According to the original agreement, everyone was responsible for attacking for a period of time. The others took turns to protect Fong Byron, who was in the center. He was the most important person on this trip. Unfortunately, his cultivation was the weakest among them. Yi Shiwen continued to refine the level 3 dragon veins along the way. He continued to hone his cultivation. Such a short period of time might not be enough for ordinary people. However, he was different. He had the mysterious space. As long as he continuously injected spiritual energy, his comprehension would rise in a short period of time. In such a short period of time, he not only completely consolidated the cultivation of the 5th realm, but also pushed his cultivation to the intermediate level of the 5th realm. All his previous accumulations were completely unleashed. Of course, the price was 3 level 3 dragon veins. However, these people who were traveling with him did not know that Yi Shiwen had advanced from the initial level of the 5th realm to the intermediate level of the 5th realm in such a short period of time. The further he went, the greater the price. He only burned 1 dragon vein to stabilize the initial level of the 5th realm. Now that he advanced to the intermediate level of the 5th realm, he burned 3 level 3 dragon veins. If others knew about this, even an Emperor Realm cultivator would be heartbroken. An ordinary Emperor Realm cultivator would have the wealth of 1 or 2 level 3 dragon veins. However, they could not afford such consumption. However, Yi Shiwen did not care. If he did not consume resources, he would have to consume time. However, he did not have so much time. It was as if he had not had much time to cultivate since he started. This was not the first time he had done such a thing. Although he had not squandered like this before, it was nothing to him. He knew very well that heavenly Taoism had set up an inescapable net. They might have even sent people into the heavenly palace to kill him. He had to forcibly increase his strength to deal with these pursuers. The reappearance of the heavenly palace had caused the entire stormy sea area to undergo drastic changes. It was unknown how many forces had surfaced. Yi Shiwen didn't have any backing. So, he had no other choice but to deal with them with his formidable strength. Now, the one in front was none other than the blue-eyed emperor. At this moment, it was already the second rotation. The Jade-Eye Emperor hooked his finger slightly and a spiritual will flew out without anyone noticing. He thought that he had done it secretly and that no one had noticed him. After all, in such a chaotic scene, it was very difficult to take care of him. However, all of his actions had fallen into Yi Shiwen's eyes. Because from the beginning, Yi Shiwen had never relaxed his surveillance on him. Even if he was already in a state of high enlightenment, he did not relax his surveillance in the slightest. Yi Shiwen saw all of this. Although he did not know what the blue-eyed emperor wanted to do, he suddenly raised his vigilance. Something strange happened in an instant. Just when Yi Shiwen's heart was on guard, two incomparably huge bone demons suddenly leapt out from the endless pile of skeletons below. Each of these two skeletons was huge, like a small hill, and had a huge tail. In a short time, flesh and blood began to grow on these skeletons, making them look like two-legged crocodiles. They opened their bloody mouths and directly rushed towards Yi Shiwen to kill him. The blue-eyed emperor, who was in front of them, missed these two. These two human-shaped giant crocodiles did not directly pounce towards Fong Byron. On the contrary, they pounced directly towards Yi Shiwen. These two human-shaped giant crocodiles were extremely terrifying. The laws of the emperor were flowing in them. They were flowing with runes and there were ancient scriptures flashing on them. Boom! The attacks of the two human-shaped giant crocodiles directly bombarded into Yi Shiwen's body and penetrated into his body. It was a one-hit kill. Humph! Yi Shiwen let out a muffled groan, as if he had been injured. Blood spurted out, and then one of the human-shaped giant crocodiles exploded on the spot. The law of the emperor level burst out all at once, and one could imagine how powerful it was. Rumble! Boundless waves of wind broke out in an instant. Not good! At this time, the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor and the Waterfire Saint Emperor had no time to rescue him. They could only forcefully protect Fong Byron. Damn it, how could this happen? Why did I miss someone? In the endless explosions, the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor looked angrily at the Blue-Eyed Emperor. Because there was a mistake in the Blue-Eyed Emperor's segment. Otherwise, it would not have ended up like this. Roar! In the frenzy of the explosions, Yi Shiwen's loud and clear roar came. Then, the endless power of time boiled out and suppressed the frenzy of the explosions. Yi Shiwen's figure was revealed. There was a bloody hole in his chest. The human-shaped giant crocodile just now had injured the loophole in the time robe. After that, it even self-exploded, and it seemed to have injured Yi Shiwen. Next to him, the other human-shaped giant crocodile saw that it could not kill Yi Shiwen in an instant. The light of the law talismans flashed on its body. It was about to explode on the spot like the other human-shaped giant crocodile. However, before it could make a move, Yi Shiwen blasted out a punch and hit the body of the human-shaped giant crocodile. Boom! The human-shaped giant crocodile turned into endless powder with a loud bang on the spot. Yi Shiwen grabbed it. Although these two human-shaped giant crocodiles could pose a threat to him, it was only during a sneak attack. In a head-on confrontation, they were far from a real emperor. They had only temporarily reached the combat power of the emperor level with the help of some laws. Martial Emperor Realm Friend, are you okay? Saint Emperor Golden Cicada stepped forward and asked. I'm fine. I was just hit hard by him just now. I should have lost my combat power now. Yi Shiwen said, but there was not the slightest change in his expression. However, everyone did not have the slightest doubt. An emperor was not an ordinary creature. It was the most normal thing for him to suppress his injuries. That's great, he's finally injured. Seeing this scene, the green-eyed emperor was very happy. Since yesterday, Yi Shiwen was like a nightmare that directly shrouded the sky above him. Even the dual pupils that he was so proud of had been forcibly taken away by Yi Shiwen. What a shame this was! You're dead today. After Saint Emperor Golden Cicada confirmed that Yi Shiwen was fine, he immediately glared at the green-eyed emperor. Green-eyed emperor, explain to me how this happened. Because of the green-eyed emperor's mistake, the entire team had lost another important combat power. It seemed that Yi Shiwen's injuries were very serious, and he did not know how long it would take for him to recover. At this critical juncture, how could he not be angry? Moreover, since yesterday, the green-eyed emperor's performance had disappointed him. If it was not for his good friend's matter, how could he be willing to let it go? He would have fallen out with the green-eyed emperor yesterday. However, such a thing still happened today. With his cultivation, it was not difficult to see that this was definitely done on purpose by the green-eyed emperor. Otherwise, with his cultivation, how could he have missed someone and directly caught Yi Shiwen off guard? Explanation? What else is there to explain? His cultivation is not good and his skills are not good. It's very normal for him to end up like this. The green-eyed emperor only took a slight step back, and then said with a cold smile, "Skills are not good? What a joke. Do you still want to act now? You should have done this on purpose." Just when Saint Emperor Golden Cicada was about to speak, Yi Shiwen spoke first. "You don't have to hide it. Where are your accomplices? They should be nearby." Yi Shiwen's words immediately made Saint Emperor Golden Cicada, Waterfire Divine Emperor, and Fong Byron vigilant. After getting along for this period of time, they were very clear that Yi Shiwen was not the kind of person who would speak without thinking. In that case, was there really his accomplices nearby? In that case, the green-eyed emperor was also unreliable. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada's mind suddenly thought of a lot of things that he could not figure out before. Now he figured it out all at once. Why did the green-eyed emperor behave so strangely? Why did the green-eyed emperor provoke Yi Shiwen? Now that he thought about it, everything was already very obvious. The three of them immediately became vigilant against the green-eyed emperor. Seeing that it had been seen through, the green-eyed emperor looked at Yi Shiwen with some annoyance. It didn't expect that it would be seen through by Yi Shiwen. If it continued to lurk, there might be other benefits, but now it was useless. Since it has been seen through by you, then there is nothing more to say. Yes, I am indeed a spy. From the beginning, I came to scheme against you, said the green-eyed emperor coldly. Impossible, I have known you for a very long time. Could it be that you have been scheming against me since that time? A look of disbelief flashed in the eyes of Saint Emperor Golden Cicada because he remembered that he had known the green-eyed emperor for a very long time. Otherwise, he would not have brought him to find Yi Shiwen. Both of them had a very deep friendship. Yes, in fact, he has been scheming against you for a very long time. It was not easy, not easy. Master, I have been waiting for you to come out. A wild laughter came from the void. Chapter 3082. A man who looked to be in his 20s with a pair of sharp horns on his head appeared in front of everyone with a wanton smile on his face. This man had an arrogant aura around him. Divine chains coiled around his body. Everyone could clearly see that those dazzling divine chains were actually divine chains of order, divine chains of law. These divine chains were originally a kind of law between heaven and earth, but now they had fallen on his body and were refined into a kind of supernatural power and technique by him. He didn't hide anything and was extremely confident. As he walked, the divine chains of laws collided with each other and resounded endlessly. That's right. In fact, he has been scheming against you for a very long time. It hasn't been easy, it hasn't been easy. Master, I've finally waited for you to come out. There was a hint of nostalgia in his eyes, but also a hint of coldness, as if he was standing in the coldest place in the universe. It's you. Fong Byron's expression suddenly changed, and he pulled a long face. Even when he was faced with the betrayal of the blue-eyed emperor, he didn't look so ugly. However, the moment he saw this man, his face turned ugly, and countless memories surged into his mind. You didn't expect this, did you? Master, I didn't expect to see you here. The man's face was filled with a smug smile. And I also didn't expect that Master could be so tenacious, to actually reach this step. It's really amazing. The man clicked his tongue in amazement, but his eyes were so cold, as if he was looking at a dead person. Evil disciple! Fong Byron gritted his teeth and spat out these two words. Only then did the others understand the relationship between the two. In particular, the water and fire holy emperor was a little surprised. Compared to becoming an emperor, it was more surprising to teach a emperor. This was because every emperor had their own great Tao, and if one wanted to become an emperor, one must walk the most unique path. Even in a world as vast as the Fortune Divine Dynasty, it was impossible to achieve the same Tao. Even if one's Tao was similar to the emperor realm, there would still be a huge gap between them. Hence, a sovereign emperor could at most produce a peak quasi-emperor. However, a sovereign emperor would not be able to teach someone to truly take that step. They would need to be geniuses blessed by the heavens and have an astonishing fortuitous encounter. Only then would they be able to break through their master's great Tao and find another way to become a martial emperor. That would be even more difficult. Yi Shiwen thought of many things. The golden cicada, Saint Emperor, had said that Fong Byron had perished in the Pan-Heavenly Palace. However, he hadn't explained how he had perished. Nobody knew the reason behind it. He didn't care at first. It didn't matter how he fell, but now it seemed that he was wrong. It was actually directly related to the current situation. What made Yi Shiwen even more surprised was that how could an emperor not see whether a person had ambition or not? That kind of ambitious tiger and wolf couldn't enter the eyes of an emperor. It was the same no matter how talented he was. However, Fong Byron had fallen into this person's scheme. So, there must be something unknown. Evil disciple. Ha ha ha, well said. I am indeed an evil disciple. This person didn't care about the word, evil disciple, that Fong Byron had mentioned. Every step on the road of cultivation is against the heavens' will. Every time I undergo a transformation, it is also part of it. Master, you are my inner demon. I was able to make progress during this period of time because I broke your myth. However, I felt that my cultivation had stagnated again a long time ago. I felt uneasy and had a shadow in my heart. Therefore, I deduced what the problem was. I couldn't directly divine that a wisp of Master's soul had reincarnated because of the golden cicada, Saint Emperor. However, I still found out some things. Therefore, I entrusted the Blue Pupil Emperor to get close to the golden cicada, Saint Emperor. However, you have always been under the protection of the golden cicada, Saint Emperor. So, I didn't have the opportunity to make a move even if I wanted to. This kind of opportunity is not easy to come by. This person paced back and forth, as if he was talking to himself. He had been suppressing these words for countless years, and now he finally had the chance to say them. Master, you probably don't even know it yourself. Because of you, my Tao heart was obstructed, and after I stepped into the Imperial Monarch realm, it didn't advance in the slightest. At the beginning, I thought it was because the Imperial Monarch realm took longer to cultivate than ordinary cultivators. However, later on, I found out that it was actually related to you, Master. Since then, I've started to plan on how to eliminate you, Master. 9 Changes Deity Emperor, your Master brought you out of your sleep and guided you in your cultivation. I didn't expect that you would repay him in this way. The golden cicada Saint Emperor said while gnashing his teeth. So what? In fact, Master, you have already seen through my ambition. That's why you taught me the 9 transformations divine technique. You want me to get rid of the wildness in my heart, but it's useless. That's the root of my existence. If I get rid of my wildness, how can I cultivate to become an emperor? I just hid it very well, so you didn't notice it. The man laughed and said, 9 changes deity emperor? You are actually a 9 changes deity emperor? Isn't it said that you have fallen long ago? The water-fire Saint Emperor suddenly thought of something and said, countless years ago, the 9 changes deity emperor used a set of 9 changes divine technique. However, he later died due to chi deviation. I didn't expect that it was all fake. You actually faked your death. Ha ha, that was all fake news that I released to the outside world. Otherwise, my master has countless close friends, including many people like the golden cicada Saint Emperor. How could they let me go so easily? The 9 changes deity emperor said with a slight smile. He seemed very confident about all this. Yes, if I knew that you were still alive, I would have taken your head myself, the golden cicada Saint Emperor said while gnashing his teeth. He had a very good relationship with Fong Byron, so he hated the 9 changes deity emperor very much. Not only the 9 changes deity emperor, but even the water-fire Saint Emperor's expression suddenly changed. Even though he was an emperor who only cared about benefits, such an act of deceiving his master and destroying his ancestors was still extremely frightening. This was because such a person was like a hawk looking at a wolf, and had a rebellious bone in the back of his head. No one knew when he would bite off a piece of flesh at any time. It was really very dangerous. Unfortunately, you won't have a chance today. Master, you must have never expected that the Jade-Eye Emperor is actually my person. The 9 transformations deity emperor sneered. It's been arranged many years ago. Besides you, the only one who knows about your master's physical body is me. That's why I set up an ambush here. Ah, I finally said it. After tens of thousands of years, my heart is finally at ease. No wonder, no matter how I calculated, this trip was full of danger. It turns out that it was actually because of you, a beast. The golden cicada Saint Emperor said while gnashing his teeth. So what? The 9 changes deity emperor said while laughing. But do you think that just the 2 of you can take us down? The golden cicada Saint Emperor scolded. He was still confident in his heart. Although Yi Shiwen seemed to be seriously injured, he should not be unable to fight back. There was also the water-fire Saint Emperor. It seemed that it should be a tie. Ha ha, do you think I would make such a mistake after planning for so long? The 9 changes deity emperor laughed loudly. At this time, a few tyrannical auras appeared around him. Emperor-level lifeforms. The golden cicada Saint Emperor immediately recognized these terrifying auras. They were all Emperor-level lifeforms, and they were not ordinary people. You actually colluded with foreign lifeforms. Do you want to be a traitor? The golden cicada Saint Emperor gritted his teeth and looked at the 9 changes deity emperor. How could you do such a thing? In the Fortune God dynasty, there was nothing that could be compared to colluding with foreign lifeforms. After all, the living beings in the Fortune God dynasty had been freed from the brutal rule of foreign lifeforms. This matter was the most intolerable. So what? Didn't you also say that I am a beast? Moreover, as long as I kill all of you, who will know? The 9 changes deity emperor said nonchalantly. Hee, 9 changes deity emperor, you are really long-winded. Isn't he just an ant-like quasi-emperor? Just kill him. After a sinister laugh, a huge head popped out. It was like a huge mountain. The head was covered in scales and emitted a dark energy aura. 5th realm, it's actually another existence of the 5th realm. The golden cicada Saint Emperor's face suddenly changed because he and the water-fire Saint Emperor were only at the 4th realm. How could he not be shocked and angry when facing an expert of the fifth realm? On the other side, the Waterfire Saint Emperor's face also changed. A 9 changes deity emperor might not be a big deal, but if there was another fifth realm emperor-level lifeform, it would be a completely different story. Around him, 3 terrifying auras of emperor-level lifeforms emerged. Although they were not fifth realm emperor-level lifeforms, they were existences of the third and fourth realm. All in all, none of them were weak, including the jade-eyed emperor. The difference in strength between the two sides was like heaven and earth. 6 versus 3, it was almost double the difference. What do you think, Waterfire Saint Emperor? This matter has nothing to do with you. As long as you are willing to withdraw and submit to me, I will give you a chance to live. The 9 changes deity emperor said confidently. Now that they had the upper hand. However, as a fourth realm expert, the Waterfire Saint Emperor was still a big problem. It would be best if they could get rid of him. The Waterfire Saint Emperor looked at the 9 changes deity emperor and said with a cold smile, I am not as beastly as you. Moreover, who do you think you are to want me to submit to you? Chapter 3083. The Waterfire Saint Emperor sneered. His power surged, shaking the heavens and the earth. The laws of water and fire transformed into an imposing manner that soared into the sky. He was also a fourth realm emperor and was not at the bottom of the hierarchy. Such a figure could definitely be called a peerless figure. How could he kneel at the feet of others? Not to mention being someone else's slave and being ordered around by others. Come on, if you want to kill me, let's see if you have the ability to do so. The 2 powers of water and fire sublimated in his body. At this moment, he seemed to have sublimated into another world. That's right, let's fight, the last battle without holding anything back. You bastard, you want to achieve your goal. The golden cicada Saint Emperor let out a sorrowful roar that shook the heavens and the earth. His hair danced in the wind, making him look like a huge god of death. Divine chains flew out from his body one after another. At this moment, he seemed to have been reborn from the ashes. I think you are also courting death. Do you think you are still a match for me with your current strength? The 9 transformations Divine Emperor sneered and shouted as well. He raised his power to the limit, not holding back a trace of strength. Boom! The fists of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor and the golden cicada Saint Emperor collided fiercely. The brilliant battle instantly engulfed the heavens and the earth, making an earth-shattering noise. The remaining shock waves swept across the sky, and a visible wave rushed to the heavens and drowned everything. Everything in the sky was destroyed, and the space was shattered into pieces. The white bones on the ground were completely turned into powder and scorched earth by this wave of impact. The deafening roar was incessant. The battle between the 2 emperors was a true battle between emperors. The golden cicada Saint Emperor, in particular, was fighting with his life on the line. He knew that his cultivation was still a notch lower than the 9 transformations Divine Emperors. If he wanted to win or to survive, he could only fight with all his strength. After severely injuring the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, he might have a chance of winning against the others. On the other side, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor did not hold back either. The murderous intent in his heart was boiling. Divine chains of laws crisscrossed in the sky, dragging behind them. The clattering sounds made people's eardrums feel like they were about to burst, resounding through the sky. Every divine chain could pierce through the heavens, dancing in the sky and assisting their master in attacking their opponents. This was the power of the laws, encouraging and cruel. The divine chains on the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's body were especially strong and had completely fused with his physical body. He was like a divine phoenix of the 9 heavens that was truly undergoing a transformation. Surrounded by scarlet clouds, he erupted with eternal divine light. The The two of them were fighting for the control of the laws of heaven and earth, forming their own divine kingdoms and inner world. His speed was much faster than Saint Emperor Golden Cicada's. The light on his body became more and more dazzling. Every divine chain that was created exploded with the rumbling of the great path, resounding throughout the universe. It was extremely terrifying, if not for the fact that Saint Emperor Jin Chan was also desperately fighting back. Just these alone would have been enough to completely suppress Saint Emperor Jin Chan and defeat him. Even though the fourth and fifth realms were only separated by one realm, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Kill! Saint Emperor Jin Chan shouted and finally activated the source of his great path. A golden cicada appeared behind him. It was incomparably huge and seemed to be able to pierce through the sky. All the great path on his body was displayed and blasted towards the 9 transformations Divine Emperor with all the power of the great path. Boom! This huge golden cicada directly crashed into the divine kingdom of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, causing the divine kingdom to shake. He had to find a way to stop the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's control of the laws. Otherwise, once he was completely deprived of the control of the laws, the rest would be much more troublesome. There was a huge difference in strength between the emperors of each realm. However, the difference in power was only one aspect. The most important thing was the difference in comprehension of the realm. If one's comprehension of the realm was insufficient, they would be deprived of the control of the laws and eventually be defeated. You? Die. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor suddenly opened his eyes. Countless divine chains suddenly exploded and pierced through the huge golden cicada one by one. In an instant, the golden cicada was pierced through and nailed to the void. Golden blood sprayed out. Saint Emperor Jin Chan spat out a mouthful of blood. In just a short period of time, he did not know how many years of cultivation he had lost. However, he had no choice. Using the source of his great path to fight would certainly increase his combat power by a lot. However, once there was any damage, it would be to the source of the great path. This huge golden cicada was struggling, but it was useless. This was because every divine chain was locked on his body, constantly taking away his life and sucking away his life force. In this battle, Saint Emperor Jin Chan was completely at a disadvantage. He was no match for the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, who was at the 5th realm. On the other side, the 2 fake emperors did not make a move. This was because the 5th realm creature from the foreign domain was staring at him. Both sides were facing each other and did not make a move. They could only watch helplessly as Saint Emperor Jin Chan was completely at a disadvantage. Evil disciple, evil disciple! Fong Byron looked coldly at the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. He was extremely livid. On his body, the source of the great path began to burn. However, it was far more powerful than the average quasi-emperor. It was almost comparable to an emperor-emperor. This was the advantage of being a reincarnated emperor-emperor. For others, it was impossible for a quasi-emperor to fight against an emperor-emperor. However, for an emperor-emperor this was not necessarily the case. Although he was only an emperor-emperor in his previous life, he still had some means that ordinary people did not know about. He could barely raise his cultivation to the emperor-emperor realm temporarily. Although he had no advantage against anyone here, he was not really vulnerable and had the means to fight back. Ha ha, another one courting death. The source of an emperor-emperor. After I devour it, I will definitely be able to improve further. One of the 3rd realm emperor-level existences laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with greed as he stared fixedly at Fong Byron. They were different from the cultivators of the Fortune God dynasty, who cultivated the laws of heaven and earth. For those who cultivated the laws of heaven and earth, comprehending the laws of heaven and earth was the same. However, they could constantly devour to improve themselves. This was why they could improve their cultivation to the peak in a short period of time. There were pros and cons to each. Otherwise, the foreign creatures would not have been able to wreak havoc in the Fortune God dynasty for so long. Fong Byron's face was livid. If it was in his previous life, he would not have to worry about these emperor-level creatures. However, his life was now threatened. An emperor had his pride. He would rather self-destruct his spirit than let his great path origin fall into the hands of these beasts. On the other side, the blue-eyed emperor also walked towards Yi Shiwen step by step. There was a somewhat sinister smile on his face. Yi Shiwen, you didn't expect this, right? Weren't you very majestic and arrogant before? Why are you gone now? Ha 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 ha. Do you think you are my opponent? Yi Shiwen's expression was calm, as if the big hole in his chest did not belong to him. It has already come to this, and you still want to be stubborn? If you weren't injured, I would still be afraid of you. But you are injured after all. Ha ha ha, I will definitely extract the origin of your great way. I will ensure that your primordial spirit will never die and will be tortured forever. The Green-Eye Emperor said with a hideous smile, I will dig your eyes out first. The Blue-Eyed Emperor walked towards Yi Shiwen step by step. He suddenly stretched out his hands and wanted to dig out Yi Shiwen's eyes, just like what Yi Shiwen did to him before. He hated Yi Shiwen to the core. He must reproduce the humiliation that Yi Shiwen inflicted on him. However, just as he walked in front of Yi Shiwen and was about to make a move, a burst of divine light burst out from Yi Shiwen's eyes. His pupils split into two. It was a double pupil. Endless divine light burst out from the double pupil and spread out. It was like a dancing rain of light. The endless power of laws began to distort the void and instantly blasted towards the Blue-Eyed Emperor. This endless power of the pupil completely burst out in an instant. How is this possible? The Blue-Eyed Emperor suddenly felt that the space around him was distorted. A terrifying power was tearing his body apart. It was not that he was unprepared. It was just that in his opinion, Yi Shiwen could not be as powerful as before when he was injured. Moreover, the power of Yi Shiwen's attack was actually the power of the pupil that he had never thought of before. And the source of this power was actually the double pupil. It should have been his most unique double pupil. This is impossible, the Blue-Eyed Emperor roared. Many laws flew out from his body and turned into chains of laws that protected him within, resisting the tearing power of the pupil. He almost immediately thought of the source of Yi Shiwen's double pupil. This could only come from the pair of double pupils that had been dug out previously. After the double pupils were dug out, he could still be reborn. Hence, he did not pay too much attention to it because it was the condensation of laws. It was not a body of flesh and blood that could be reborn. However, he never expected that Yi Shiwen would actually use his pair of double pupils to cultivate the magical power of the double pupils. How was this possible? If it had been a long time, it might have been possible. But how much time had passed? It was only a total of a few days. How was this possible? Yi Shiwen had not shown it before, and the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor had not mentioned it to him. Hence, he was so shocked and angry at this time. He was shocked and angry. His unique skill had been learned by someone else. What's impossible about this? Do you think I'm a piece of trash like you? The divine light in Yi Shiwen's double pupils blazed even more fiercely. The Blue-Eye Emperor immediately felt the nomological divine chains around him shatter in an instant. A terrifying force tore at his body. His Imperial Lord-level physical body was actually being torn apart. Chapter 3084. He couldn't be more familiar with this power. It was the power of his dual pupils. When unleashed, it could tear the world apart. It was the ability that he was proud of, but he never expected that one day someone could use this move to deal with him. Although he was very familiar with this move, he had no way to counter it because it was his own move. There was no need to think of a way to counter it. And finally, there was a flaw. Not to mention, he felt that Yi Shiwen's comprehension of the dual pupils was no less than his own. Moreover, Yi Shiwen's strength was above his own. So much so that his emperor-level body had been torn apart by the pure power of the pupil. Even when he was at his peak, he couldn't achieve such a terrifying ability. It was impossible to tear the physical body of an emperor directly. At most, he could only use this move to restrict the ability of an emperor. After all, the physical body of an emperor was said to be the most powerful in the world. It was impossible to tear it apart with pure eye power. It could only be possible to kill the other party with the assistance of martial arts. And now Yi Shiwen completely tore him apart with just eye power. The green-eyed emperor couldn't imagine how profound Yi Shiwen's skills were. Puff! The physical body of the green-eyed emperor was directly torn into pieces, and blood splattered in the sky. Just one blow severely injured the green-eyed emperor. The torn physical body of the green-eyed emperor retreated frantically, trying to reassemble in the void. There were generally two ways to injure the physical body of an emperor. One was to regenerate a cell, and the other was to reassemble the physical body. The consumption of the latter was far less than the former. Unless it was a last resort, no one would choose to abandon the physical body. In the next instant, the green-eyed emperor reassembled in the distance. However, before he could do anything, a white palm suddenly shuttled through the layers of space and appeared in front of him. How is this possible? When the green-eyed emperor saw this palm, he immediately remembered that it was the same when Yi Shiwen dug out his eyes. However, the speed of this hand was too fast. With a snap, it tightly gripped the neck of the green-eyed emperor. The blue-eye emperor kept struggling, but there was no way for him to break free. The word seal above his head kept emitting brilliant light, and around the word were divine chains of order nomological laws. Every chain was connected to heaven and earth, using the power of heaven and earth to suppress the blue-eye emperor. Although Yi Shiwen did not study the Tao of sealing, his understanding of the word seal was already above most people in this world. However, it was still not enough to seal a fourth realm sovereign emperor in a single move. All of this naturally relied on the power of heaven and earth. With the power of heaven and earth as a medium, no matter how strong the blue-eyed emperor was, it seemed insignificant compared to the power of heaven and earth. Impossible! Aren't you injured? The jade-eye emperor struggled and roared. Injured? Ha ha ha! Do you think those two pieces of trash can hurt me? I just wanted to see what you wanted to do, so I deliberately pretended to be injured. Otherwise, those two things can't even hurt a hair of mine. Yi Shiwen sneered. There was indeed a loophole in his time magic robe. However, his gilded tyrant form was invincible. In fact, it wasn't inferior to an ordinary Taoist robe. In fact, he could confront an ordinary Taoist tool head-on without falling into a disadvantageous position. In fact, even an Emperor Lord would find it difficult to injure him. So, it was needless to say that these two creatures had been strengthened with some Emperor Lord technique. Even if he was ambushed, it was impossible to hurt him, who had the tyrant golden form. All of this was just a pretense. It was just that even Yi Shiwen did not expect such an accident to happen behind his back. As soon as Yi Shiwen's voice fell, the big bloody hole in his chest recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Almost in the blink of an eye, it was as good as new. You? Green-Eye Emperor's eyes widened. He never expected that he would let those two creatures attack Yi Shiwen. It was not only because he hated Yi Shiwen, but also because among this group of people, the real threat was Yi Shiwen, who was in the fifth realm. As long as he severely injured Yi Shiwen first, the rest would be much simpler. However, things were far from that simple, because he did not expect that Yi Shiwen was not injured at all. On the contrary, everything that happened before was just a show for him. If not, he would not have fallen for Yi Shiwen's trick in a moment of carelessness. Even if a Fifth Realm Master had an overwhelming advantage over a Fourth Realm Master, he would not be able to seal him in one blow. Not to mention that he was already at the peak of the Fourth Realm, which was not much worse than Yi Shiwen before his breakthrough. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was fine, both Holy Emperor of Water and Fire and Fong Byron were overjoyed. The current situation was extremely unfavorable for them. They were almost forced into a dead end, so they could only fight with their lives on the line. However, it was different now. Yi Shiwen had recovered, and suddenly had the powerful combat power of a Fifth Realm Master. Even in the midst of the battle, Holy Emperor Golden Cicada was also very excited. Now that they also had a Fifth Realm Master on their side, the gap between them was not that big. On the other hand, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's expression changed slightly, but he did not show it on his body, because they still had the upper hand. So what if the opponent had a Fifth Realm Master? They had 2 on their side. Roar, interesting. That Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature slowly manifested its body in the void. However, it was much smaller than its original body. For a battle of this level, the size of one's body could not determine the outcome of the battle. This Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm was constantly changing in the void, and turned into a man wearing iron armor. His face had a somewhat ferocious expression, and he stared at Yi Shiwen as if he was staring at a dead thing. Anyone who dares to stand in our way must die. This Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm looked coldly at Yi Shiwen. Several other Emperor-level creatures had already surrounded Yi Shiwen. They had already seen that the real threat was this man, and the others were nothing at all. Boom! A dazzling light instantly rose from the body of the Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm. Everyone could see clearly that the dazzling power of the Great Way was released from his body. Although they did not cultivate the laws, they could also touch the Great Way with their own magical powers. These were 2 completely different Great Ways. Endless dazzling light was like a rain of light, dancing in the void. Inside his body, the battle chi was surging, as if the entire void had turned into a huge battlefield, invincible. On this battlefield, he was an invincible god of war. Swish! The figure of the Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm suddenly disappeared. In an instant, the entire world seemed to be in a violent turbulence. In an instant, the sun and the moon lost their light, the world lost its color, and the mountains and rivers collapsed. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Yi Shiwen. He directly blasted out a punch, and the iron clothes on his body fluttered along with the fierce astral wind. He did not use any fancy trick. He immediately attacked with a peerless attack. Both of them were at the Fifth Realm, and his move to deprive the control of the laws was useless against Yi Shiwen. Even if there was a gap between their skills, it was unknown how long it would take for Yi Shiwen to completely control the laws. Obviously, this was not a place for a good fight. It was too dangerous, and even an Emperor-level creature could fall here. A cold killing intent also emerged from Yi Shiwen's body. The hair on his head danced, and the battle intent continued to rise from his body. It was as if a peerless demon god had awakened. His expression was a bit dignified. This was also a master of the Fifth Realm. This was the first time he had fought with an expert of the same level after entering the Fifth Realm. Boom! The fists of both sides collided fiercely. In an instant, the brilliance of the light flooded the world. Everyone only saw the dazzling brilliance, and heard an earth-shattering bang. The aftermath turned into waves in an instant and spread in all directions. The rumbling sounds were incessant, and the entire ground cracked under the impact of the waves. Many of the bone demons hiding in the ground did not even have time to react before they died tragically and turned into powder. The power of the fight between the two was even greater than the fight between the Golden Cicada Divine Emperor and the 9 Transformations Divine Emperor. The aftermath of the fight between the real existences of the Fifth Realm was enough to annihilate countless quasi-emperors. Puff! Fong Byron spurted out a mouthful of blood. The aura he had condensed collapsed directly in the aftermath of the fight between the two. He could not hold on at all. After all, he had only forcibly summoned back a part of the Tao fruit of his previous life. He was not a real Emperor-level creature. In such a collision, even a quasi-Emperor would die. Only an Emperor-level creature could stand firm. Fortunately, the sacred Emperor of Water and Fire protected him, preventing him from being completely turned into ashes in the fight between the two of them. At the same time, his eyes were filled with incomparable shock. These two people were really too terrifying. The fifth realm was only the fifth realm. Although there was only a difference of one realm, the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. If it were him, he would not have any chance of winning against either of these two people. Fortunately, there was one more expert of the fifth realm on his side. Otherwise, it would be difficult for him to escape today. Both of them were not at the bottom of the fifth realm. On the side, several other Emperor-level creatures did not dare to come forward, because they knew very well that this was not the time to intervene. They could not intervene in a fight between experts of the fifth realm who were at their peak state. Thump, thump, thump. Both sides slightly retreated a few steps. In the crazy collision of their bodies, they were almost equally matched. Yi Shiwen calmed the surging of his blood and qi. He narrowed his eyes. This Emperor-level creature of the fifth realm was no different from the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. They were both at the intermediate stage of the fifth realm, which was not worse than Yi Shiwen. There was only one way to end this fight quickly. A crazy idea circled in his mind. Chapter 3085. The more intense the battle, the more terrifying existences would be attracted to the Pan-Heavenly Palace. They could not stay for long. Because of this, whether it was the Emperor-level creature of the fifth realm, the 9 changes Divine Emperor, or even Yi Shiwen, they all had the same idea. They had to find a way to get rid of each other as soon as possible. However, a battle of similar strength could easily turn into a protracted battle. Yi Shiwen was already very satisfied with his current strength. After all, these people had been cultivating for many years, while Yi Shiwen himself had only been cultivating for a few years. However, this was not enough. If he wanted to finish the battle in a short time, this level of strength was far from enough. He had to make a breakthrough and go further. And if he wanted to make a breakthrough, he had to make a breakthrough in the battle. To make a breakthrough in the battle with a fifth realm master of the same realm, one could imagine how crazy such an idea was. Others' breakthroughs were accidentally triggered by a certain special situation. There were very few people who took the initiative to make a breakthrough because it was simply impossible to achieve. Every breakthrough was only possible after countless accumulations. It could not happen out of thin air. In particular, Yi Shiwen had just pushed his realm to the middle stage of the fifth realm. On the contrary, he had already accumulated enough strength, so he did not have the conditions to make a breakthrough on the spot. However, even so, it could not stop Yi Shiwen's plan. He had the mysterious space, so everything was possible. In his body, a dragon vein was pulled out, and with a technique, the dragon vein began to burn. It turned into a sky full of spiritual energy and began to pour into the mysterious space. In order to make a breakthrough in the shortest time possible, Yi Shiwen was determined. Countless information about the Great Way also rushed into Yi Shiwen's mind, so that his understanding of the Great Way began to rise. Not enough, not enough, Yi Shiwen roared in his heart. On the other side, the Emperor-level creature of the fifth realm did not give up its control over Yi Shiwen. On the contrary, it completely adjusted its state in a short period of time. Divine law chains sprayed out from its body, dazzling and dazzling. It wanted to build its own divine land. All kinds of pneuma were completely boiling in an instant, as if they were boiling and starting to burn. Boom! Another terrifying attack bombarded towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen instantly felt that he was being rejected by the power of the world. A terrifying power was surging in the void. This was a shocking divine ability. Yi Shiwen suddenly opened his eyes, and the endless power of his pupils erupted in an instant, like a blooming flower, sweeping up the endless power and transforming into the endless great Tao. 3,000 martial arts were all blooming at this moment, and it was extremely gorgeous. He had already completely mastered the dual pupils, so naturally, he had also grasped the method to release martial arts and divine arts from the dual pupils. At the crucial moment, this divine art could erupt with power far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Boom! The two sides clashed once again. The terrifying power from both sides caused the entire sky to collapse. They even forced the battle between the 9 transformations Divine Emperor and the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor to one side. Wait for me, I'll help you once I'm done with this guy. At this time, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor also saw Yi Shiwen's amazing combat power, and naturally understood that it would not be easy for the Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm to take down Yi Shiwen. Therefore, the best way was naturally to gather the strength of both of them to finally kill Yi Shiwen after he had dealt with the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. This was the safest and most likely method. So, you hold him back for now. I understand. The Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm roared and roared. He also wanted to blow up the human in front of him with a punch, but there was no way. The opponent's cultivation was almost no less than his. It was not like what the green-eyed emperor had said, that Yi Shiwen should be someone who had just broken through to the 5th realm. He originally did not take Yi Shiwen seriously. The fundamental reason was that the information sent back by the green-eyed emperor mentioned that Yi Shiwen should have just broken through not long ago, so it should be impossible for Yi Shiwen to be his opponent. However, this was not the case at all. As soon as he attacked, the strength of the opponent did not seem like that of someone who had just broken through. On the contrary, it was like an old antique who had been in the 5th realm for hundreds of thousands of years. He even seemed to faintly feel that Yi Shiwen seemed to be getting stronger, although he kept telling himself that it was just an illusion. After all, how could it be possible to advance in the midst of a battle? But this feeling was getting more and more obvious. On the other side, the green-eyed emperor kept yelling, "What are you guys waiting for? Hurry up and help me out!" He was almost sandwiched in the middle of the battle between the two masters. Countless aftershocks of the battle directly washed over, and the seal that Yi Shiwen cast only sealed his strength, but did not help him resist the aftershocks of these explosions. Moreover, even his martial arts were sealed, and he could only rely on his own physical body to resist. It was fine once or twice, but after a few times, he was seriously injured. In addition, Yi Shiwen had already severely injured and shattered his physical body once. Now, he almost felt like he was about to die. This feeling was like suffering in hell. He hated Yi Shiwen even more. If it were not for Yi Shiwen, how would he end up like this? If he was hit by the impact of the shockwaves from both sides, he was likely to die directly. Even an Emperor Lord was no exception. After all, his martial arts were sealed. After the remaining few Emperor-level creatures looked at each other, a 3rd realm Emperor-level creature made a move. His huge claws were like clouds in the sky, and he directly attacked, grabbing at the word seal above the green-eyed Emperor's head. The Holy Emperor Water and Fire was about to protect the seal and not let the green-eyed Emperor, who was at the peak of the 4th realm, out when he heard Yi Shiwen's voice. "Holy Emperor Water and Fire, you don't have to do anything. These clowns can't break my seal at all." Yi Shiwen's words were full of confidence, which made the Holy Emperor Water and Fire extinguish his intention to help. Boom! This 3rd realm Emperor-level creature had just touched the huge word seal when he heard a loud explosion. A terrifying force erupted from the seal, and then the huge front claw of this 3rd realm Emperor-level creature suddenly exploded. Roar! This 3rd realm Emperor-level creature was both shocked and enraged, but there was nothing he could do. His entire front claw seemed to have been entangled by a terrifying force. If he hadn't cut off his arm at the critical moment, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Impossible! He looked at the seal in disbelief. How could a seal that was casually set up have such power? After all, he was also an emperor-level creature that was comparable to an emperor lord. His physical body was also extremely tyrannical. How could it be so vulnerable? Power of heaven and earth. His seal has the power of heaven and earth. We can't act rashly. At this time, the other emperor-level creatures had already seen that this was actually the power of heaven and earth. The seal borrowed the power of heaven and earth. Otherwise, a simple seal would not be able to completely seal the green-eyed emperor, who was at the peak of the fourth realm, and prevent him from breaking free. This was clearly proof that he had an amazing understanding of the Tao of sealing. No matter how powerful his own power was, he would eventually be exhausted if he used his own power to seal the enemy. Even an Emperor Lord was no exception. The power of an individual creature was ultimately limited, but the power of heaven and earth was endless. Therefore, those powerful sealing masters were also very clear that channeling the power of heaven and earth into the seal was the way to go. Although these emperor-level creatures did not cultivate laws, their insight was not bad. Although they were cruel, they also had profound knowledge. How could they not see it? At the same time, they looked at Yi Shiwen with even more fear in their eyes. Yi Shiwen had more means than they had imagined. At the same time, the green-eyed emperor was also screaming. He, who was sealed in the seal, suffered the backlash of the power of heaven and earth. He, who had no spiritual power, had no power to resist at all. He could only watch as this force bombarded his body, almost causing his physical body to explode again. He no longer dared to call for others to rescue him. If he forcibly opened the seal, he might die before he could be rescued. He roared with grief and indignation in his heart. How could this Yi Shiwen be so powerful? He was just a rogue cultivator. How could he have so many means? At this time, he had already begun to regret accepting this task to provoke Yi Shiwen. If not, he would not end up like this in the end. On the battlefield on both sides seemed to have begun to become clear. The golden cicada Saint Emperor was already at a disadvantage, but he still clenched his teeth and persevered. This was because he knew very well that he must not be defeated. Otherwise they would be finished. He could only try his best to delay the 9 transformations Divine Emperor and buy as much time as possible for Yi Shiwen. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor had the opposite idea. He wanted to kill him as soon as possible. On the other side, as the battle became more and more intense, the two sides exchanged tens of thousands of blows. Yi Shiwen's advantage began to gradually become apparent. He actually began to suppress the emperor-level creature of the 5th realm. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound was heard. Countless divine chains of the principles of order on Yi Shiwen's body began to shake, and spread in all directions with a crashing sound. Yi Shiwen's vitality soared into the sky, and condensed into a pillar that soared straight into the sky. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, his strength had actually risen by a level. Chapter 3086. The aura on Yi Shiwen's body erupted like a volcanic eruption. Behind Yi Shiwen, the Mingxin ancient tree emerged faintly. The colorful light and shadow shrouded his body, making him look like a deity. There was a rumbling sound of thunder coming from his body. His blood was like a surging river, rising and falling like a vast sea. It was deafening. Many laws turned into a rain of light that danced in the sky. And these were precisely the signs of a breakthrough. Although it was not a breakthrough of a whole realm, it still made everyone on the battlefield feel completely dumbfounded. Breaking through in the middle of a battle, such a thing was not often seen even with the knowledge of Emperor Lords. Especially when it was a breakthrough in the Emperor Lord realm, It was simply impossible. At least, they had never seen it before. How is this possible? I don't believe such a situation will happen. The fifth realm emperor-level creature was completely furious. What kind of technique is this? Although he cultivated divine abilities and not laws like other imperial emperors, the essence was the same. He did not dare to believe that such a situation could happen. Stop talking nonsense, Yi Shiwen shouted. The aura on his body was still skyrocketing. However, he himself roared violently. The spiritual power in his body vibrated violently. The surrounding heaven and earth caused a strong resonance. Countless laws began to construct a small world under his leadership. Yi Shiwen had completely stepped into the late stage of the fifth realm, which greatly improved Yi Shiwen's strength on the spot. Yi Shiwen roared and directly rushed out violently. He blasted out a punch. Coupled with his newly upgraded realm, his attack was extremely unyielding, and the offensive power was extremely terrifying. 6 paths of reincarnation. Yi Shiwen blasted out a punch. In an instant, it had completely turned into 6 paths of reincarnation. It almost tore the entire world apart. Countless terrifying forces evolved at this time and turned into 6 paths of reincarnation, suppressing on the spot. Damn, what kind of move is this? That emperor-level creature of the fifth realm suddenly felt the terror of Yi Shiwen's attack. It had already involved a completely different kind of law. It even involved life and death. This was the biggest headache for emperor-class creatures. Although he was an emperor-class creature, and could even compete with an imperial lord, he did not have a deep understanding of the laws. His understanding of the laws between life and death might not even be as good as that of an ordinary Tao-proving god. That was why they couldn't transcend life and death, which was also fatal to them. Now Yi Shiwen had used his fist to suppress the world's principles. So, one could well imagine how powerful it was. He even had a feeling that his soul was about to be forcefully extracted from it and sent into the endless cycle of reincarnation. He roared and blasted out a punch. The iron armor on his body also made a loud sound, and a drastic change immediately occurred between heaven and earth. He directly blasted towards Yi Shiwen. Boom! A frightening power erupted, and the shock waves from the collision between the two sides turned into violent waves that swept in all directions. Everyone could even see the space in front of them trembling violently, as if a stone had been thrown into a calm lake. Under the suppression of Yi Shiwen's fist, the fifth realm emperor-level creature was shaken and forced to retreat. He had suffered a great loss in terms of strength. It should be noted that as an emperor-class life form, the strength of his physical body could even be said to be superior to that of ordinary imperial emperors. This was also the innate talent of his race. Emperor-class lifeforms were able to contend against imperial emperors without cultivating laws because of their innate talent in physical bodies and divine abilities. He was directly shaken and forced to retreat, gliding in mid-air. However, Yi Shiwen's whole body was shining, his hair was flying, and his clothes were also fluttering in the collision. After the breakthrough, Yi Shiwen's strength had greatly improved. Originally, it was not easy for him to deal with these two people at the same time, but now, his strength was more than just a little bit more tyrannical. With just a simple move, he was able to repel the fifth realm emperor-level creature. At this time, on the other side, the battle between the 9 transformations Divine Emperor and the Golden Cicada Holy Emperor had also entered a white-hot stage. The Golden Cicada Holy Emperor was completely at a disadvantage in the battle against the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. He was completely suppressed, and was almost blasted away. However, even so, his face was already red. In the successive collisions, cracks appeared inch by inch on his body. Even the Golden Cicada Holy Robe that he cultivated could not protect him. Under the attack of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, the cicada shedding technique could not be used at all. For this day, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor had been preparing for many years. In addition, the strength of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor was above that of the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor. As one could imagine, the result of the battle could be said to be one-sided. Golden Cicada Holy Emperor, don't panic, I'll help you! Yi Shiwen shouted loudly. He flew out at the same time that the Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm retreated. The Tai Yu sword appeared in his hand at some point in time. The sword light transformed into the dominator of the world and slashed towards the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. In the midst of the exchange, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor also felt a strong sense of crisis. He suddenly looked back and saw Yi Shiwen directly slashing down with the Tai Yu sword. Suddenly, he felt the hair on his body stand up. This was a compelling sense of crisis. He had no doubt that if he was directly struck, the consequences would be simply unimaginable. What's going on? You can't even keep an eye on him. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor roared again and again. He did not expect that Yi Shiwen could actually break free from the entanglement of the 5th realm Emperor-level creature and rush in front of him. Although he had the upper hand in the battle with the Golden Cicada Holy Emperor, he also had to go all out and could not be distracted. Otherwise, the Golden Cicada Holy Emperor would escape. After all, the Golden Cicada Holy Emperor was now fighting with his life on the line, and the gap in strength between them was not that big. However, it was too late to think about this at this time. In an instant, he could only transform into an incomparably huge figure, almost covering the sky and earth. This huge figure flashed with dazzling light, and suddenly blasted towards Yi Shiwen, who was holding the Tai Yu sword. Boom! Yi Shiwen's Tai Yu sword was invincible. It directly swept out and directly slashed this incomparably huge figure on the spot. It was the Tao body of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, a clone formed by the great Tao law. Although it was also infinitely powerful, it was really not enough in front of Yi Shiwen. Tai Yu sword, this is the Tai Yu sword. I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. You really have a huge hatred for the heavenly Taoism. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor roared again and again. His figure changed 9 times, and he moved a few times in the sky to avoid Yi Shiwen's fatal blow. Beside him, the Golden Cicada Holy Emperor was also very good at grasping opportunities. Even under the situation where he was suppressed to the limit, he also blasted out an attack. Unfortunately, he still could not hit the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. However, even so, he still took advantage of this opportunity to catch his breath. This was already very difficult for him. Under the attack of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, he did not even have the strength to fight back and could only constantly defend. This was undoubtedly an enormous humiliation to a peerless imperial monarch. However, when he looked at Yi Shiwen, his whole body trembled, and a somewhat incredulous expression appeared on his face. He could not believe that Yi Shiwen could actually consecutively repel 2 experts of the 5th realm. This courage alone was unparalleled. Moreover, his strength was even more impressive. His cultivation could also break through on the spot in the air. This was even more like a miracle. For the Emperor-Lord realm, any little bit of progress would take a lot of time. It could not be achieved quickly, and Yi Shiwen had clearly broken through his previous judgment. He still remembered that when he first met Yi Shiwen, he should have just entered the 5th realm. However, now he had already reached the late stage of the 5th realm. It only took a total of a few days. How did he do it? Countless questions flashed in his mind. So what? Do you want to tell the heavenly Taoism? Yi Shiwen sneered. He opened his mouth and immediately swallowed the surrounding spiritual energy in one gulp to replenish his consumed power. Humph, I heard that the experts of the heavenly Taoism are already looking for trouble with you everywhere. Not only the heavenly Taoism, but also many of their allies. When the time comes, you are dead. Don't even think about escaping. The 9 transformations divine emperor laughed and said, "No, you will die in my hands. No matter who says it, it will be useless." "Ha ha, you still want to kill me? What a joke." Yi Shiwen laughed out loud and flew towards the 9 transformations divine emperor on the spot. In an instant, he appeared in front of the 9 transformations divine emperor, and then blasted out a punch. Under the influence of the dark Bodhi divine hand, the power of the punch skyrocketed, transforming into the 6 paths of reincarnation, suppressing all directions. The 9 transformations divine emperor roared, 9 transformations shocking the heavens. At this moment, the chi and blood in his body had completely risen to the extreme. He had already felt the influence of the 6 paths of reincarnation fist. In this fist technique, there was even a bit of suppression boundary power. It was extremely terrifying. He had to do his best to deal with it. At this moment, he had become the ruler of the endless world. He was high and mighty, looking down on all living beings in the world. Everything between heaven and earth was decided by him. This kind of will turned into a kind of martial arts torrent, blasting in the direction of Yi Shiwen. 6 paths of reincarnation fist suppression. Yi Shiwen shouted, and the 6 paths of reincarnation wheel began to suppress this torrent, causing the world to tremble violently as if the heavens and earth were about to be destroyed. Again, second drive. Chapter 3087. In an instant, the 9 transformations deity emperor felt that the 6 paths roulette, which was already unparalleled in the first place, had added a second force to it, causing the already powerful 6 paths roulette to reach an earth-shattering level. Bang! His torrent of energy was completely shattered in an instant, and then an even more astonishing scene occurred. Yi Shiwen's 6 paths of roulette did not slow down in the slightest and directly bombarded the 9 transformations deity emperor. Puff! The 9 transformations divine emperor spurted out a mouthful of blood, and the light emitted from his body dimmed a lot. He actually suffered a backlash from this force. So strong, how did he become so strong? What kind of move is this? The 9 transformations divine emperor's eyes widened. 5 overlapping fierce waves. The 5th realm emperor-level creature widened his eyes in disbelief. Compared to the 9 transformations divine emperor, he was more familiar with this set of remarkable techniques that were originally famous among the creatures of the foreign realms. But wasn't it supposed to be the clan's unique skill? How did an outsider learn it? This should be impossible in itself. The 5 overlapping fierce waves was related to the special physique of the Sea Emperor Shark clan. It was impossible for outsiders to learn it, so they did not have any ideas about this magical power, because it was useless to learn it. At most, they could only use it as a reference, but it was impossible to learn it. Even if it was just a reference, in fact, after so many years their progress was very limited, and they could not make much progress. Therefore, when he saw the 5 overlapping fierce waves, he was so shocked. That's right, it's the 5 overlapping fierce waves. Yi Shiwen smiled, and did not deny that the 5 overlapping fierce waves was indeed an extremely powerful technique, and even Yi Shiwen could use it now. The 9 transformations divine emperor also stabilized his injuries, and forcibly suppressed them. This was the first time he had been injured since the start of the battle. Although the golden cicada Saint Emperor had attacked with all his might, in fact, it was still not a fatal threat to him, and Yi Shiwen's simple attack had already seriously injured him. The gap between the two was already clear at a glance. Yi Shiwen, do you think you can stop the two of us alone? You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. What's in it for you to help Saint Emperor Golden Cicada? You're only harming others without benefiting yourself. The 9 transformations deity emperor roared. He also tried to make Yi Shiwen withdraw from this battle. He had already seen that if he wanted to kill his master this time, the biggest problem was on Yi Shiwen's side. As long as they could drive Yi Shiwen away, then everything else was nothing. Yi Shiwen sneered. What good will it do me if I don't help him? Although I'm not really a good person, I can't do something as heartless and unscrupulous as you. Don't talk to him anymore. The emperor-level creature of the fifth realm had been thoroughly enraged by Yi Shiwen. With his status, he would never allow someone like Yi Shiwen to appear in front of him. No matter how many reasons you say, if you can't defeat me, you're doomed to fail today and die here, Yi Shiwen said with a cold smile. On the side, the water-fire divine emperor's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that Yi Shiwen actually had such great ambitions. One must know that he originally thought that even if Yi Shiwen were to show off his divine power, he would at most drive away the 9 transformations deity emperor. After all, there was a huge gap in strength between the two sides. It would already be very good if Yi Shiwen could kill 1 or 2 of them, let alone all of them. The battle between emperors involved life and death. It was already a big deal. It was not easy for life and death to occur in a battle between emperors. Once there was a life and death situation, there was bound to be a huge gap in strength. For example, if the 9 transformations deity emperor wanted to strangle Byron, he would also need to make many preparations in order to have a chance. How is this possible? You want to kill us all? Don't be so arrogant, kid. The other emperor-level creatures scolded one after another. Although their strength was not as good as the 9 transformations deity emperor, they were emperor-level creatures after all. In the eyes of Yi Shiwen, they were almost completely insignificant minions. How could they not be angry? The Green Eye Emperor looked at Yi Shiwen with a dumbfounded expression. He couldn't believe it at all. He originally knew that Yi Shiwen was very strong. After all, he was able to dig out his double pupils. Later on, he was able to seal him with a single blow. Even the other emperor-level creatures couldn't rescue him. However, he didn't expect that Yi Shiwen would be so tyrannical. There was a faint despair in his heart. If Yi Shiwen was really tyrannical to this extent, wouldn't it be completely impossible for him to rescue him? The 9 transformations deity emperor and the emperor-level creature of the 5th realm faintly pincered Yi Shiwen, forming a joint attack. However, Yi Shiwen didn't seem to care at all. He just stood with his hands behind his back. He looked completely confident. If one didn't know, they would think that Yi Shiwen and the others had the upper hand, and not the 9 transformations deity emperor. The 9 transformations deity emperor had already sensed the horror of Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen's skill was even more profound than his. The information reported by the Green Eye Emperor had been completely thrown to the back of his mind. It was not credible at all. His body suddenly swelled up, and 9 kinds of magical martial arts began to emerge. The reason why he was named the 9 transformations was because he had cultivated these 9 completely different magical martial arts. Any of these magical martial arts could lead directly to the supreme way. However, there were 9 of them at once. It was conceivable how difficult it was to cultivate this martial art. Since ancient times, only he had cultivated it. Although it was imparted by Byron, he was the one who refined this martial art to the limit. Each of the 9 martial arts brought forth an unparalleled phenomenon as they surged together like tidal waves. Wave after wave, they gushed forth endlessly. At this moment, all sorts of martial arts wills were bursting out at the same time. It could be said that this martial art was created by studying the strong points of various schools. It had the same wonderful effect as Yi Shiwen's 3,000 martial arts. However, it was still a far cry from the heterogeneity of the 3,000 martial arts. There was still a disparity between it and Yi Shiwen. Compared to the 3,000 martial arts that focused on the Great Way, these 9 magical martial arts focused on martial art. Therefore, their attacks were not inferior at all. In fact, they were even more lethal. The 9 transformations deity emperor could cultivate to this point. He was indeed a super genius. Each had their own strength. I don't believe that you can continuously burst out the fierce waves, 5 overlapping. The 9 transformations deity emperor's expression was indifferent. He was very clear that the more powerful the martial arts, the more power it would consume. There was no such thing as a martial art without a price. Even the Sea Emperor Shark, who created this martial art, did not dare to use this kind of magical power at any time. Otherwise, the gains would not make up for the losses. Ha ha ha, it's more than enough to kill you. Yi Shiwen laughed. Under normal circumstances, it was indeed as the 9 transformations deity emperor said. However, the 9 transformations deity emperor did not know that in his body there was a level 2 dragon vein. This level 2 dragon vein continuously supplied him with energy. Even if the fierce waves 5 overlapping consumed more energy than the previous one, it was impossible to exhaust a level 2 dragon vein in a short period of time. Yi Shiwen's qi and blood were still strong. His blood surged like the sea and the sound of thunder could be heard. Go, kill him. He must have some treasure on him that can support him in battle. I can't wait to devour his soul and seize his magical power and fortuitous encounter. The 5th Realm Emperor was completely enraged. He roared and took the lead to attack. He directly pinched a seal with his hand and suddenly, a space-time tunnel appeared behind him. From this space-time tunnel, a dozen powerful auras suddenly flew out. These were the remnant spirit of the powerful Emperor-level creature that he had collected after death. He did not know how many years it took to collect them. They were originally a trump card that he had prepared for himself, but he did not expect to use them here. These spirit came in all shapes and sizes, but without exception, they all had a powerful aura. Then, these powerful spirit all poured into his body. In an instant, all kinds of yuan qi erupted between heaven and earth. Above his head, tens of thousands of chaotic qi hung down, appearing misty. The boundless chaos qi even engulfed him. Amidst the chaos qi, only a pair of blood-red eyes stood out. Boom! At this moment, the 5th Realm Emperor-level creature made his move. Behind him, there was a faint, horrifying vision, but his whole body rushed out like an arrow that had left the bow. In an instant, he was already in front of Yi Shiwen. The tens of thousands of chaotic qi directly turned into a huge claw that was hundreds of miles long and slammed down towards Yi Shiwen. Rumble! Everyone could see that this huge claw was tearing the sky apart. This was not the peak of the power explosion, but it was already so terrifying. One could imagine how terrifying it would be once it slammed down. Yi Shiwen clearly felt that this attack was undoubtedly on a higher level compared to the previous one. This should be the trump card of the 5th Realm Emperor-level creature. As an Emperor-level creature of the 5th Realm, it was naturally impossible for it to not have a trump card. And these spirit of the Emperor-level creature should be a one-time consumable. They should be gone after they were used up, so he did not take them out before. Be careful! Golden Cicada Sage Emperor could not help but shout. Just as Golden Cicada Sage Emperor, Fire and Water Sage Emperor, and Fong Byron were worried about Yi Shiwen, a sneer came from the space that had been completely annihilated by the chaotic qi. Is this all you've got? If this is all you've got, then no one can save you. Then, a sword light that was hundreds of feet long gushed out, tearing everything apart and rushing straight into the sky. Chapter 3088. The sword light tore through the chaos, and a golden figure rushed out of it, stepping on a golden light. Boundless yuan qi erupted on the spot, like a god of creation. That amazing sword light was so oppressive that it almost suffocated people. The sword light collided with the chaos qi, like a comet hitting the earth, setting off thousands of waves. The surging sword light even tore the sky, causing the entire pan-heavenly palace to tremble. Countless white bones also trembled violently, and countless bone demons hidden in them screamed as they were annihilated. Thump, thump, thump. The Fifth Realm Emperor was repelled by a powerful force. He felt as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was collapsing. His iron armor was transformed from his own scales and was extremely sturdy. However, under the pressure of the sword chi, the iron armor on his body began to crack. The intense sword light was so bright that he almost couldn't open his eyes. Waves of sword light repeatedly swept and scoured. "Kill!" Yi Shiwen shouted, "I will kill you first!" He leaped up, and countless sword light spewed out from every pore of his body, turning into a spirit sword, and slashed down with monstrous fluctuations. Boom! The Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm let out a loud roar and fiercely collided with Yi Shiwen's spirit sword that was chopping down. Puff! This Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature's iron armor not only cracked, but even golden blood gushed out. Blood overflowed from his mouth and nose, and the skin on his body cracked. What great power! This Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm seemed to be looking at a monster. Generally, it was these Emperor-level creatures who were good at physical strength, but Yi Shiwen had obviously broken this rule. Second drive. However, this attack was just the beginning. Yi Shiwen roared again, and another mountain-like force gushed out. Boom! This time, the Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature finally couldn't hold on any longer, and his entire body was sent flying. His body seemed to have been crushed by an ancient divine mountain, and it was unknown how many bones in his body were broken. Second drive, the power of each layer was even more terrifying. Ah! This Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature screamed in pain. All of this took a long time to describe, but it actually happened in an instant. It was so fast that even the 9 transformations Divine Emperor couldn't rescue him in time. He could only watch helplessly as his ally was blasted away by Yi Shiwen. Seeing that Yi Shiwen was about to chase after him again, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor hurriedly rushed forward at the same time. It was not because the relationship between the two sides was still so good, but because he knew very well that he must not give Yi Shiwen a chance to defeat them one by one. You want to help? Dream on! Sage Emperor Golden Cicada roared, and his whole body suddenly transformed into a golden cicada. He rushed forward and blocked 9 transformations Celestial Emperor. Although he was not a match for the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, it was still possible for him to stop the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. Bastard! The 9 transformations Deity Emperor was furious, but it was impossible for him to get rid of the Golden Cicada Deity Emperor. He blasted out a series of heavy attacks, wanting to blast the Golden Cicada Deity Emperor out. However, the Golden Cicada Deity Emperor was also very clear that it was time to decide the outcome of the battle. Everything depended on Yi Shiwen. At this time, even if he went all out, he must not give Yi Shiwen the slightest chance. The huge Emperor aura of both sides dispersed in all directions. 2 astonishing figures entangled in the void. It was a chaotic battle. Whether it was the experts of the Fourth Realm or the Fifth Realm, they were all peerless figures. At this moment, they completely broke out in order to survive. It was extremely terrifying. Hurry up and help! Seeing that he couldn't get away for a while, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor suddenly roared. The other Emperor-level creatures suddenly remembered that they couldn't be blamed. Originally, they thought that with the 9 transformations Divine Emperor and the Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature attacking, there was no chance for them to attack. Who would have thought that the situation would suddenly turn out like this? A Fourth Realm Emperor-level creature took the lead and rushed out. These were all Emperor-level experts. Any one of them had the ability to turn the world upside down. In just an instant they rushed out. This Emperor-level creature took the initiative to attack first to block Yi Shiwen. Its mouth directly spat out a bloody light that filled the sky. This was a blood-red spear. This blood-red spear was stained with blood, exuding an unimaginably terrifying aura. With a clanging sound, it instantly became hundreds of kilometers long and blasted towards Yi Shiwen. Rather than saying that it directly pierced over, it was better to say that it crushed over. This spear was too huge. From afar, it looked like a mountain range sweeping over. It was very shocking. This spear arrived in front of Yi Shiwen in an instant. And at this time, the enlightening mind ancient tree suddenly appeared behind Yi Shiwen. A dreadful power was surging, and it emitted bursts of 7-colored rays of light. It was like a divine hand, and it directly grabbed the blood-red spear. This blood-red spear could penetrate the world, but it could not penetrate the defense in front of Yi Shiwen. This fourth realm emperor-level creature was indeed powerful. Although it was not as powerful as Yi Shiwen when he was still in the fourth realm, it was enough to pose a huge threat to him. However, it was different now. Suddenly, the blood-red spear suddenly began to burst into violent clanging sounds, as if it had been crushed by some terrifying power. Cracks began to appear on the blood-red spear inch by inch, and then only a loud roar could be heard. This blood-red spear actually exploded on the spot in the 7-colored divine light. It shattered inch by inch, and then turned into an endless frenzy, rolling back towards the fourth realm emperor-level creature. Bang! 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 The shards of the blood-colored spear flew out and slammed into the body of the fourth realm emperor-class creature. Bloody holes appeared on the body of the emperor-class creature, and blood gushed out in all directions. Not only did this attack fail, but it was also injured. However, this fourth realm emperor-level creature did not give up, and directly rushed over to buy time for the fifth realm emperor-level creature. Yi Shiwen's terror was not only realized by the 9 transformations divine emperor-level creature, but also by them, and they knew that they could not let him kill them one by one. This emperor-level creature of the fourth realm was firmly holding Yi Shiwen back. In addition, several other emperor-level creatures were also closing in on Yi Shiwen. This made it impossible for Yi Shiwen to kill that emperor-level creature of the fifth realm. Since you all want to die, then I will send you to your deaths one by one. Yi Shiwen smiled coldly. I will kill one first. At this time, the fourth realm emperor-level creature realized that the problem was serious. He only wanted to restrain Yi Shiwen for a while, but he did not expect that he would get involved. When Yi Shiwen broke out, he was not able to stop him at all. However, it was too late. Yi Shiwen's futon-like palm slapped down on the spot. He could only raise his claws to meet Yi Shiwen's attack. Bang! This was just a rough exchange, and this fourth realm emperor-level creature was already screaming in pain. He was not Yi Shiwen's opponent at all, and his entire arm was beaten into a bloody mist. After another breakthrough, Yi Shiwen's strength was even more tyrannical. His strength was really extreme. Even a fifth realm emperor-level creature would be at a disadvantage in a head-on confrontation with Yi Shiwen, let alone a fourth realm emperor-level creature. This was just the beginning of the exchange, and he immediately suffered a big loss. However, Yi Shiwen's offensive had just begun, and the next punch directly fell. 6 paths of reincarnation fist. Yi Shiwen's fist blasted down and directly hit the head of this emperor-level creature of the fourth realm. More than half of its head was blown off by Yi Shiwen's punch, and blood and brain matter splattered out together, just like thousands of peach blossoms blooming. Roar! This fourth realm emperor-level creature constantly screamed and roared. After being seriously injured by Yi Shiwen's blow, he did not dare to fight against Yi Shiwen anymore, and retreated repeatedly. However, how could Yi Shiwen give him this opportunity? The overturning the sky seal fell on the spot, and the seal style smashed the world into pieces. Not to mention that fourth realm emperor-level creature, it was not Yi Shiwen's opponent at all. It was smashed on the spot, and blood splattered everywhere. Even the hardest bones in its body were all turned into powder under Yi Shiwen's fist. It was not a match at all, and it was completely useless. An emperor-level creature died tragically in Yi Shiwen's hands, and its soul was completely destroyed. although its body was reconstructed in the void using the power of law, but its soul was already dead. For an Emperor-level creature, this was a true death. Several other Emperor-level creatures realized at this time that they were blocking a terrifying existence. However, it was too late to retreat at this time, and Yi Shiwen had no intention of letting them go. Yi Shiwen's body was overflowing with brilliance, as if it was cast from glazed gold. He was full of murderous aura, as if he was the only master of the world. The supreme aura exuding from his body was too strong, and it was enough to suppress everyone present. Attack, attack together. We must not let him defeat us one by one, or we will all die without a burial place. The blood and chi that erupted from these Emperor-level creatures soared into the sky. They were all Emperor-level creatures, and the masters of this world. How could they be willing to be captured without putting up a fight? They would rather die than let Yi Shiwen do whatever he wanted. Attack together, and you will die together, Yi Shiwen sneered. In the face of the siege of these Emperor-level creatures, he did not retreat in the slightest. On the contrary to everyone's expectations, he took the initiative to attack. He stomped his foot fiercely, and the world trembled violently. He then swept his foot towards one of the Third Realm Emperor-level creatures. Chapter 3089. This kick directly tore the sky apart. A terrifying shock wave swept out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. In the face of the terrifying attack of a supreme Emperor Monarch, everyone had to kneel down. Bang! This Third Realm Emperor-level creature was directly kicked. It should be said that it couldn't dodge at all. Yi Shiwen's kick contained the fusion of the world's Great Way. Every move of Yi Shiwen's was in line with the supreme Great Way of the world. Even if it was an ordinary attack, it had the power of a unique skill. This kick directly sent the third Emperor-level creature flying on the spot. His physical body even cracked on the spot due to such an attack, and his flesh and blood collapsed along with it. This attack alone reflected Yi Shiwen's astonishing strength. Even an ordinary master of the Fifth Realm wouldn't be able to casually kick an Emperor-level creature of the Third Realm to the point of almost dying. Damn it, stop him! At this time, the other Emperor-class lifeforms also rushed over to attack. Yi Shiwen's eyes were calm. His state of mind was unprecedentedly calm under the cover of that enlightening mind ancient tree. You're courting death. Yi Shiwen wasn't afraid at all. He easily blocked the attack of the remaining Emperor-level creature. His counterattack arrived almost instantaneously. Overturning the Sky Seal, die. The overturning the Sky Seal fiercely fell with lightning speed. The other Fourth Realm Emperor-level creature didn't have enough time to block it. He was directly sent flying. A big hole appeared on his body, and his flesh and blood flew everywhere. The Fourth Realm experts were nothing in front of Yi Shiwen. So strong! Fong Byron suddenly opened his eyes wide. Yi Shiwen's methods were too sharp and too fast. In just a short period of time, he had seriously injured two Emperor-level experts. Even if he had been at the peak of his previous life, he couldn't have done this. At this time, he was very happy in his heart. Fortunately, Saint Emperor Golden Cicada had found this helper. Otherwise, they would have died here today. They would have died in the hands of that evil disciple. He was a monarch. What kind of people had he not seen before? With the strength of a monarch, it was not a problem for him to see through the hearts of people. Originally, he would not have taught such a rebellious disciple. However, he was still too confident and thought that he could turn everything around. However, reality proved that it was easy to change mountains and rivers, but difficult to change one's nature. After experiencing the ups and downs, he should have seen through everything long ago. However, when he saw such an intense battle, he still felt extremely shocked. He is indeed very strong. No wonder this martial emperor dared to challenge the heavenly Tao sect. Since ancient times, those who dared to challenge the heavenly Tao sect did not have a good ending. Only a few of them were remembered. He does have such qualifications. The divine sovereign of water and fire couldn't help but nod. He was also deeply moved. This martial emperor was much more terrifying than he had imagined. He had defeated 2 great emperor monarchs in the blink of an eye. If the people of heavenly Taoism were to find out about such strength, perhaps heavenly Taoism would have to consider whether or not they should continue to pursue and kill Yi Shiwen. The best way to avoid offending such a peerless expert was to not offend him. However, at this time, heavenly Taoism must not be able to see the scene here. Not only Fong Byron and the divine sovereign of water and fire were shocked, but even the emperor-level creature of the 5th realm, who was recuperating next to them, was completely shocked when he saw this scene. Everyone was stunned. How powerful was this? Yi Shiwen had just made a breakthrough under their noses, but was he really strong to such an extent? He suddenly turned pale with fright. Originally, he thought that Yi Shiwen would definitely die if everyone joined forces. He didn't expect such a mistake to appear at such a critical moment. Can't even withstand a single blow. It's your turn. Yi Shiwen let out a long roar and grabbed the void with his right hand. The Avicii sword evolved from the void. In an instant, the murderous aura spread throughout the entire world. It was as if the entire world had turned into an Avicii hell in an instant. Endless swordsmanship wrapped around it. The light of the swordsmanship law began to sweep wildly. The sharp sword light soared into the sky, bursting out endless light. It vibrated with unprecedented sharpness. The sword fell down on the emperor-level creature of the 5th realm. Not good. This emperor-level creature of the 5th realm immediately realized this terrifying fact. He was not Yi Shiwen's opponent even if he was still in his peak state, let alone in this injured state. The time was too short. It was simply not enough for him to recover to the point where he needed to recover sufficiently. Roar. The emperor-level creature of the 5th realm roared and transformed into his real body. He opened his mouth and suddenly spat out a terrifying torrent of energy to meet Yi Shiwen's sword. Boom! The sword light and the torrent of energy collided, stirring up shocking waves that spread in all directions. The space was forced to fluctuate endlessly. Such a stalemate only lasted for a moment. The sword light split the torrent of energy as if it was splitting a piece of paper. Then, without losing any momentum, the sword slashed the body of the emperor-level creature of the 5th realm. Bang! Ah! The emperor-level creature of the 5th realm screamed again and again. His entire forearm was cut off by Yi Shiwen's sword light. Blood sprayed out like a pillar. He was still sweating profusely at this time. Just now, at the most critical moment, he relied on the torrent of energy to slightly delay Yi Shiwen's action. This allowed him to avoid the most terrifying attack and not be split in half. But even so, he still felt extremely horrified. In other words, he was scared stiff. This was the first time he had been so close to death ever since he had stepped into the threshold of the Emperor-level life form. Usually, a fight between Emperor-level life forms that involved death was already considered a major event. So, it would require a lot of planning in order to be possible. However, it seemed as if this was nothing in front of Yi Shiwen. In fact, he was no different from an ant. This was what he was most afraid of, because he was really close to life and death. In the face of life and death, the Emperor-level creature would not be much better. It was just that he had always been the one to control the life and death of others in the past. But now, his life and death were in the hands of others. For the first time, he felt that those creatures were just like ants in his eyes. That kind of fear suddenly welled up in his heart. It should be said that he really almost died in Yi Shiwen's hands, but it just happened to be a little off. Although his forearm was cut off by a sword, he did not dare to stay at all. He retreated again and again. He found that he could no longer contact his broken arm. There was a murderous aura blocking it. It was impossible to fuse with his broken arm before it was completely removed. It was even impossible to regrow it because there was also a kind of murderous aura in his wound. At this time, he could not care about his broken arm. He could only quickly retreat while using his martial power to force the murderous aura out of his wound. But after Yi Shiwen gained the upper hand, he did not show any mercy. He pointed his sword directly at the Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm. Block. The Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm was forced to a dead end by Yi Shiwen. He immediately roared and the iron clothes he was wearing flew out to resist Yi Shiwen's sword. Clang! There was a sound of metal colliding, and suddenly there was a burst of sparks, and this only lasted for a short period of time. The Avicii sword in Yi Shiwen's hand slashed the iron clothes. It was also a Dao tool, but compared to the murderous aura of the Avicii sword in Yi Shiwen's hand, there was still a huge gap. Yi Shiwen took a step forward, and at this moment, a roar came from behind. Stop! The 9 transformations Divine Emperor caught up with a step. He had finally forced the Golden Cicada Saint Emperor to retreat, and gained an opportunity to attack Yi Shiwen. Get lost! The martial Emperor seal in Yi Shiwen's other hand rotated, and then instantly turned into the seal of the overturning Sky Seal, pressing towards the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. He did not retreat at all. On the contrary, he turned his defense into a counterattack, and took the initiative to attack the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. Rumble! All of the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's attacks were completely blocked by the Martial Emperor seal. On the Martial Emperor seal, there was a faint image of a peerless master, like a peerless emperor suppressing the world. All attacks in front of the Martial Emperor seal could not be used at all, and all turned into nothingness. How many Dao tools does he have on him? The Divine Emperor of Water and Fire smacked his lips, and could not help but be dumbfounded. From the first appearance of the Time Robe, to the later appearance of the Tai Yu sword, then the Avicii sword, and finally the Martial Emperor seal, Yi Shiwen had at least 4 Dao tools on him. Even in the Fortune Divine Dynasty, an Emperor Lord was not someone that could be seen easily. One could imagine how precious a Dao artifact was. A person would usually only have 1 life Dao artifact. Having 2 was already an incredible feat usually. One would only be able to obtain 1 due to some sort of lucky coincidence. But Yi Shiwen had 4 Dao tools on him, and each of them had been refined to the extreme. How could this not shock the Divine Emperor of Water and Fire? Yi Shiwen only used 1 hand to block the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's attack. On the other side, Yi Shiwen waved the Avicii sword in his hand at the same time. An astonishing sword aura grew larger and larger, turning into thousands of rays of light that rolled continuously. It swept out in circles, turning the sky into the Avicii hell. Everyone fell into it and suffered. Pucci! Yi Shiwen's sword fell. That Fifth Realm Emperor-level creature could no longer block Yi Shiwen's sword light. It let out a blood-curdling screech as it was cleaved into 2 halves by Yi Shiwen's sword. In an instant, a primordial spirit leapt out from its body. However, this primordial spirit was wrapped in a baleful aura and was burning fiercely. In just a moment, this primordial spirit was completely burned away. The Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm was dead. Chapter 3090. It was extremely difficult to kill an Emperor-class lifeform. Killing one was extremely difficult, let alone an Emperor-class lifeform or an Emperor Lord that was already considered an Emperor-class lifeform. However, under Yi Shiwen's sword, this Emperor-level creature of the Fifth Realm died instantly. In a sense, Yi Shiwen's strength had already surpassed it. In his body, qi and blood were surging, directly evolving into thousands of martial arts. They appeared on his body like countless materials that finally entered the iron furnace and were smelted into a piece of fine iron. These thousands of martial arts were perfectly integrated into one in his body. Dead. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor's face suddenly changed. He never expected that Yi Shiwen would kill the Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm so quickly. Even when he dealt with Saint Emperor Golden Cicada, a sovereign emperor of the 4th realm, it was not so easy. He had not succeeded until now. From the time Yi Shiwen attacked until now, only a few moments had passed, and the Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm died in his hands. In practically an instant, he decided that he couldn't continue fighting. Even if the matter of him colluding with the beings of the other worlds was exposed, he would at most betray the other worlds. With his status and identity, there were many powers in the other worlds that would be willing to recruit him. However, he was different from ordinary people in that he had extremely rich combat experience. At this time, he was already very close to Yi Shiwen, and could not run away at all. At this time, he simply let out a long roar and took the initiative to attack. Thousands of rays of light appeared above his head, covering the sky and covering the earth. The 9 supreme techniques on his body completely broke out in an instant. The 9 supreme techniques fused into a huge codex, which recorded his Great Way laws. In an instant it covered the sky and the sun. Everyone's ears seemed to hear someone chanting scriptures, chanting the eternal Great Way. This codex came crashing down on the spot, covering the sky and covering the earth. Yi Shiwen sneered. After killing the Emperor-level creature of the 5th realm, Yi Shiwen did not stop at all. The Avicii sword in his hand expanded against the wind, forming a Avicii hell, contending with the sacred codex. Boom! The collision between the two sides erupted with divine light that filled the sky. Strand after strand of divine light spread out in all directions, almost shattering the heaven and earth. Deng! The 9 transformations Divine Emperor was forced to retreat again and again. He did not even have the intention to resist. With the help of the impact of the explosion, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor was sent flying thousands of miles away. Almost at the same time, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor forcibly suppressed the shock caused by the shock wave, swallowed a mouthful of qi and blood, turned into a stream of light, and flew into the distance. "Oh no, he wants to escape?" Saint Emperor Golden Cicada hurriedly shouted. He could only watch helplessly as the 9 transformations Divine Emperor tried to escape. However, there was nothing he could do because he had been seriously injured by the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. Otherwise, he would not have let the 9 transformations Divine Emperor escape to help. However, there was nothing he could do to help now. All these changes happened too suddenly. No one could have imagined that the ferocious and mighty 9 transformations Deity Emperor would decide to escape so quickly. No one could have imagined that he would be so decisive and shameless to run away. "Don't worry. You want to run?" Yi Shiwen sneered and directly chased after him. Yi Shiwen's feet stepped on a golden light that filled the sky. His whole body was exuding an extremely dangerous aura. The devil wings behind Yi Shiwen spread out in an instant. It was as if the wings of the heavens were blotting out the sky and covering the earth and everything in its path. Yi Shiwen caught up with the 9 transformations Divine Emperor in an instant. Clang! The sword light tore the sky. Countless sword principles all manifested. Yi Shiwen's face was reflected blood-red, appearing extremely solemn. Puchi! The Avicii sword erupted with a ferocious sword light. The sword slashed down and easily cut through the 9 transformations Divine Emperor's 9 divine arts code on the spot. It was like brine hitting tofu. Ah! The 9 transformations Deity Emperor let out a blood-curdling scream. The sword of Avicii tore open a huge wound on his back, and blood spurted out. Near the wound there was a large amount of evil qi burning fiercely, forming an evil fire. These evil spirits were constantly burning on his body, burning his flesh and blood. However, the 9 transformations Divine Emperor, had no time to pay attention to these things. He knew very well that this was a critical moment for whether he could escape or not. He constantly fled forward, not even daring to look back. However, he tragically discovered that his speed was not as fast as Yi Shiwen. Although the body technique he cultivated was also peerless, it seemed to be incomparable to Yi Shiwen's. Puchi! The Avicii sword in Yi Shiwen's hand constantly spewed out sword light. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor was cut in half on the spot, but soon fused again. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor was an Emperor Lord. His mastery of the laws was far above that of an Emperor-level creature. The evil spirits could interfere with him, but there was no way to kill him easily. Puchi! 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 The Avicii sword in Yi Shiwen's hand continued to slash down. The 9 transformations Divine Emperor's body was constantly cut. Although his recovery ability was very strong, his spirit was constantly engulfed and burned by the evil spirits spewed out by the Avicii sword. Yi Shiwen chased all the way into the depths of the void, and finally killed the 9 transformations Divine Emperor. His body was stored in the space within his body. This was not a small amount of wealth. When Yi Shiwen returned, he found that the Aqua Divine Emperor alone had blocked the remaining 2 Emperor-level creatures. They had been seriously injured in the previous battle with Yi Shiwen. They did not have the strength to fight back. Otherwise, they would not have been restrained by the Aqua Divine Emperor alone. On the other hand, Saint Emperor Golden Cicada was constantly recovering from his injuries, forcefully fighting with the 9 transformations Divine Emperor of the 5th realm until now had almost injured his origin of the Great Path. However, this battle was not without any gains for him. Because he had fought a life-and-death battle with an expert who was far stronger than him, and he had survived in the end, his gains were even better than cultivating in seclusion for hundreds of thousands of years. He already felt that he was about to break through to the 5th realm, and that day was probably not far away. It could be said to be a blessing in disguise. Seeing Yi Shiwen's return, the 2 Emperor-level existences were suddenly scared to death. They had just witnessed 2 experts of the 5th realm being blasted to smithereens. How could they still dare to fight against Yi Shiwen? However, it was of no use at all. Their strength was simply not enough in front of Yi Shiwen. Even the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire could restrain them, let alone Yi Shiwen. Even if the 2 of them joined forces, they could only cause a little trouble for Yi Shiwen. Soon, they were killed by Yi Shiwen. Their bodies fell into Yi Shiwen's hands. Thank you, Martial Emperor, for your help this time. If you have any errands in the future, I, Fong Byron, will definitely go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. Fong Byron cupped his hands and bowed to Yi Shiwen. For a former Emperor-level expert, the pride in his heart was not inferior to an Emperor-level expert. For an ordinary Emperor-level expert, he would at most bow his head, but Yi Shiwen really saved him. He had been tricked by his own disciple. If Yi Shiwen hadn't appeared and reversed the situation with his own strength, then it could be said that all of them would have died here today. There wouldn't have been the slightest exception. It's just a small effort. You don't have to worry about it. Besides, it's mainly because of the previous agreement. Since I have already said it, I will naturally do it. There is no doubt about it, Yi Shiwen said with a faint smile. It was naturally a good thing that he could forge such a good relationship with them. Although he was decisive in killing, he wasn't a bloodthirsty person. If he hadn't been forced into a dead end, he wouldn't have been willing to end up like that. Fellow Taoist Martial Emperor, no matter what, we owe you a favor. By the way, now that fellow Taoist Martial Emperor has these sovereign and emperor corpses, I wonder if you are interested in selling them to our Sky Commerce Alliance? Saint Emperor Golden Cicada finally took a fancy to those emperor-level corpses in Yi Shiwen's hands. They were absolutely priceless. Wait for me to get out, ha ha ha! Yi Shiwen laughed loudly. He was also in a good mood. Although he had experienced a great battle, his strength had also been greatly improved. Although these could not be turned into wealth, it would happen sooner or later. At the same time, he killed the green-eyed emperor. After pinching his spirit to death, he stored his body into the internal space. The green-eyed emperor had been sealed by Yi Shiwen long ago. Even if Yi Shiwen pinched him to death, there was no way for him to resist. It was difficult for an ordinary Dao tool to accommodate so many emperor-level corpses at the same time. However, his internal world was different. It could do this. After everyone tidied up a little, they immediately flew in the direction of Fong Byron's body. They were already at the last step. Naturally, they did not want to waste all their efforts at the end. The emperor-level figures could not afford to lose face like this. Soon, everyone had already flown into a space vault. I can already feel it. The emperor body of my previous life should be here. Fong Byron stopped and flew in alone. The others were guarding at the side, especially Saint Emperor Golden Cicada. He did not care that his injuries had not fully recovered. He set up a big array next to the body. It could be said that he had done his best for this close friend of his in the past. Yi Shiwen also sat cross-legged on the side, absorbing the insights of this battle. His cultivation was also improving little by little. He was only a little bit away from entering the peak of the fifth realm. At that time, he would find a way to break through. With the cultivation of the sixth realm, he would be invincible in the Sky Palace. In the absence of the masters of the seventh realm, the sixth realm was already the peak. Chapter 3091. This breakthrough was a little rushed. Although it was not a breakthrough of a great realm, it was a breakthrough in battle. In order to strengthen his combat power, the main direction was in the direction of battle. However, there were some shortcomings in other aspects. Now, Yi Shiwen wanted to make up for the gap in this aspect. He was attentively comprehending, while the Water and Fire Divine Emperor was on guard. On the other side, the Golden Cicada Divine Emperor was healing. Although the Pantheon Palace was extremely dangerous, it was basically impossible to have any problems under the protection of these Emperor Lords. No one could do anything under their watch. After a long time, suddenly, a majestic pressure came from the space fragment. This was an unprecedented aura. It was somewhat similar to Fong Byron, but not completely the same. The three opened their eyes at the same time. They knew very well that Fong Byron had successfully integrated with his own body. Then, in the heaven and earth, countless tribulation clouds condensed majestically, forming a shocking scale. Almost in a short while, this tribulation cloud, countless lightning bolts struck down. The great tribulation of becoming an emperor. The three had similar experiences, so they were naturally very clear, especially Yi Shiwen. However, compared to the lightning tribulation that Yi Shiwen had faced in the past, this lightning tribulation was undoubtedly child's play. Firstly, no one could be compared to Yi Shiwen at that time. Secondly, Fong Byron had only integrated with the Emperor Lord's body and the Tao fruit of his previous life. In theory, he was not a new person, so the lightning tribulation was not that terrifying. The situation of crossing the tribulation here soon attracted countless covetous eyes. Many divine senses swept over, seemingly wanting to find out what was going on, especially many emperor-level existences. They could all feel that this was the heaven's tribulation of becoming an emperor. Attacking someone who was about to become an emperor was undoubtedly a good opportunity to quickly improve oneself. Plundering the opportunity of this quasi-emperor, plundering his fortune, and adding it to oneself was not something that had never happened before. Moreover, there were many powers that possessed such techniques, all for the sake of waiting for this moment. However, when they saw the three imperial monarchs standing guard in the surroundings, they dispelled such thoughts. What a joke! It was simply impossible to succeed in the hands of three imperial monarchs. Even so, there were still a lot of people wandering around in the surroundings. In fact, there were even quite a few of them emanating extremely terrifying auras. If it weren't for the fact that they were afraid of the three of them joining forces, they would have long since made their move instead of just watching. The Great Tribulation lasted for 3 days and 3 nights before it gradually weakened. Not long after, everyone only saw a sky full of multicolored light descending. Violet chi stretched for a radius of 30,000 li, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. The will of the heavenly Tao manifested, as though it was congratulating the birth of this monarch. This was the first time that Yi Shiwen had sensed the heavenly law of the fortune world so clearly. He could clearly sense that the fortune realm's heavenly Tao was more advanced and more complete than the heavenly Tao in the myriad world. While the others were still stunned, Yi Shiwen seized this opportunity and began to comprehend the power of heaven in this world. Suddenly, the many idle dragon veins in his hand were burned clean in a short period of time. He originally had a few idle dragon veins in his hand as a backup. However, in the short period of time that he comprehended the heavenly Tao, they were burned clean. The heavenly Tao of the fortune realm was more advanced and terrifying than Yi Shiwen had imagined. In this short period of time, Yi Shiwen felt that he had almost been drawn into the heavenly way, even though the enlightening mind ancient tree had stabilized his mind. He would have turned into a rainbow very soon if that were to happen, and his spirit and consciousness would have been bound to the heavenly way forever. He would have become a part of the heavenly way. Thinking of this, Yi Shiwen suddenly felt a burst of cold sweat. Fortunately, the Mingxin ancient tree stabilized his mind. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The heavenly Tao of this world was much more dangerous than he had imagined. When he was in the myriad worlds, there was no problem for him to integrate his entire body into the heavenly Tao to comprehend. Even the vast heavenly Tao could not cause any trouble for him. But now, just by trying to comprehend some heavenly Tao, he almost transformed into the heavenly Tao. How could he not be shocked? On the contrary, he did not care about the few exhausted dragon veins. But in just this short period of time, his understanding of the heavenly Tao had climbed a level which saved him more than 100,000 years of bitter cultivation. It could be said that riches were found in danger. Although it was dangerous, he had seen results in a short period of time. Just when he was still considering whether to burn the level 2 dragon vein to comprehend the heavenly Tao, the manifested heavenly Tao consciousness had disappeared. Yi Shiwen suddenly felt a sense of loss when the heavenly way disappeared. Such an opportunity didn't come by often. After all, the birth of an emperor wasn't as rare as it was in the 10,000 world. However, it was still extremely rare. It was impossible to see the heavenly way manifest in such a way under normal circumstances. For ordinary people, the level 2 dragon vein was an extremely precious treasure. For Yi Shiwen, it was just a tool to comprehend the heavenly Tao. As long as he could comprehend it, it was worth it no matter how much he had to pay. Although he was still shocked just now, he already felt lost now. The two people next to him were still immersed in excitement. They did not know that while Yi Shiwen was comprehending the heavenly Tao, he actually had a trip to the gates of hell. Ha ha ha, that's great. I knew you could do it. Saint Emperor Golden Cicada laughed loudly. Thank you for your help. If it weren't for you, how could I, Fong Byron, be where I am today? In the void, a figure slowly emerged. It was none other than Fong Byron. However, compared to the previous Fong Byron, the current Fong Byron had a little more majesty of an emperor. In the past, he was just a quasi-emperor with the memories of an emperor. Now, he was a real emperor. Moreover, he was not a newcomer who had just entered the emperor realm. He had integrated the physical body of his previous life and part of the previous life's Tao fruit. He had just passed the heaven's retribution, and he was already at the peak of the first realm. He could almost be compared with Yi Shiwen when he was crossing the heavens' retribution. It was just that Fong Byron relied on the Tao fruit and martial arts accumulated in his previous life, while Yi Shiwen relied entirely on his own amazing accumulation in this life to reach that stage. This was the biggest difference. This is also because you have such ability, Yi Shiwen said with a slight smile. Fong Byron looked at Yi Shiwen, nodded slightly, and then waved his hand. Suddenly, a ball of light flew towards Yi Shiwen. Yi Shiwen casually caught it, only to see half a dragon vein appear in his hand. It was actually an incomplete level 2 dragon vein. This is... Yi Shiwen looked at Fong Byron and asked. This is my extra gratitude to Martial Emperor. This is a level 2 dragon vein that I accidentally obtained in my previous life. Although it is a bit incomplete, it is far better than a level 3 dragon vein. I know that Martial Emperor's cultivation speed is quite fast, and you continue to need a lot of dragon veins to support it. So, this level 2 dragon vein is my gratitude. Fong Byron said, Martial Emperor, you don't have to be so polite. Compared to the Tao fruit of my previous life, this level 2 dragon vein is only so precious. So, Martial Emperor, you don't have to worry about it. Yi Shiwen looked at Fong Byron and saw that his expression was firm, so he said, In that case, I won't say anything more. Thank you. On the other side, the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire looked a little envious, but he didn't say much. He didn't help much along the way, unlike Yi Shiwen who reversed the situation with his own strength. It was natural for him to receive such extra gratitude. This time, I still want to thank all of you for your help. I don't know what your next plans are. Are you going to leave the Pan-Heavenly Palace or continue to stay and watch? Fong Byron asked. I will definitely stay. After all, opportunities in the Pan-Heavenly Palace are rare. Since there is such an opportunity, I also want to take a look. Maybe there will be other adventures, the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire said bluntly. The others nodded as well. They were able to understand that the cultivation of a sovereign monarch required far too much time. If one didn't have many fortuitous encounters, it would take an unknown amount of time just to grind away at it. Moreover, one might not necessarily be able to pass every single trial. I want to stay too. Yi Shiwen also nodded. He had a level 2 dragon vein. Although it was incomplete, it was enough for Yi Shiwen to thoroughly transform his understanding into his own cultivation. He would thoroughly push to the peak of the 5th realm. If there was a suitable opportunity, entering the 6th realm was only a matter of time. Naturally, he wouldn't leave easily. Moreover, the heavenly Taoism had received the news. They might have already set up an inescapable net outside. He wouldn't leave before he was ready. When he went out again, he didn't want to hide anymore. He wanted to let the heavenly Taoism have a taste of his power. In that case, let's separate here. This time, I have retrieved my previous life's body and part of the Tao fruit. I am already very satisfied, Fong Byron said. Well, I will also escort him back. In that case, let's part here. Holy Emperor Golden Cicada nodded and said. Although this temporary team hadn't been together for a long time, they had experienced life and death. Their friendship was naturally different from others. Everyone, take care. See you in the future. Fong Byron was anxious to go back to cultivate. He wanted to completely digest the Tao fruit and break through to the 2nd realm. The Holy Emperor Golden Cicada also wanted to break through to the 5th realm as soon as possible. He didn't want to stay in such a dangerous place for closed-door cultivation. After all, there were too many variables. The figures of the two quickly disappeared. On the other side, the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire also quickly left. Only Yi Shiwen was left alone. However, his expression was more determined. It's time to find a place for closed-door cultivation. Chapter 3092. A space fragment was faintly discernible, floating in the world where the Pantheon Palace was located. This kind of space fragment could be seen everywhere in the Pantheon Palace, and it was not eye-catching. However, in this fragment, a figure was floating in the void, up and down continuously. Around him, countless laws fell like a sky full of light rain, constantly falling into his body. Every bit of light rain was absorbed by him. Little by little, it turned into his accumulation. This figure was none other than Yi Shiwen. At this time, he had reached the final step, and countless law insights turned into the shadow of the Great Way and began to appear around his body. This was his understanding of the Great Way. Previously, when Fong Byron recrossed the Emperor's retribution, the Heavenly Way had appeared for a short period of time, and in that short period of time, Yi Shiwen had obtained great understanding. And now, it was time to completely transform these insights into cultivation. His cultivation was also advancing at a steady speed, approaching the peak of the fifth realm step by step. As his cultivation continued to increase, Yi Shiwen also gradually felt the bottleneck of the sixth realm, and gradually touched that layer of barrier. As long as he broke through, his cultivation would smoothly break through to the sixth realm, and it would be a matter of course, almost without any difficulty. However, at his current level, every step forward would consume a lot of energy. Fortunately, Fong Byron had given him an incomplete Level 2 Dragon's Vein. Compared to Level 3 Dragon's Vein, Level 2 Dragon's Vein was much stronger. Therefore, Yi Shiwen's cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds in a short time. In the distance, a figure instantly emerged, stepping on the sky full of escape lights, and fled into the distance. Yi Shiwen opened his eyes, and he could not be more familiar with this figure. Who else could this person be but the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire? But now, the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire seemed to be being chased by someone. Holy Emperor of Water and Fire, you'd better hand over the thing obediently. Suddenly, a figure slowly appeared in front of the Saint Emperor of Water and Fire's path. It was actually a flame demon emperor whose entire body was covered in flames. He was the supreme emperor of the flame demon tribe, and the laws of fire around him were abnormally active under his control. A fiery domain appeared beneath his feet. It was like a lava hell, enveloping the Saint Emperor of Aquafire. Even with the Saint Emperor of Aquafire's mastery of flames, he was clearly inferior to the Flame Demon Emperor before him. Flame Demon Sovereign, do you really want to go to such extremes? Holy Sovereign Aquafire glared at the Flame Demon Sovereign before her. So what if I am? So long as you hand over that temporal fragment in your possession, then I'll let you live. How about it? The voice of the Flame Demon Emperor was cold. However, his words were filled with confidence. To him, even though the Holy Monarch Water and Fire were troublesome, they were not a threat to him. Naturally, he would be able to deal with the Holy Monarch Water and Fire easily. Impossible. I fought hard to obtain this time fragment. How can I just hand it over to you? Holy Monarch Water Fire was naturally unwilling to agree. To an Imperial Lord, the laws of space and time were undoubtedly one of the core and fundamental laws. Compared to the laws of space, the laws of time were much more difficult to comprehend. There were also fewer opportunities and related divine items. In particular, something like a temporal fragment was not something that could be obtained under normal circumstances. Naturally, he did not want to give it up just like that. Even though he had only obtained a small piece of the laws of time, it was still very precious to him. However, because of this small piece of the laws of time, he was being hunted down. In particular, this flame demon sovereign had chased him all the way from the Valley of Time to this place. It looked like he would not give up even if he had to die. Since you're unwilling to hand it over, then hand over your life, said the flame demon sovereign coldly. Being able to obtain the temporal fragment from the Holy Monarch Water and fire was naturally the best thing that could happen. Even if he could defeat the holy monarch water and fire, he would have to pay a hefty price. However, in his opinion, since the holy monarch water and fire refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, he could not be blamed. Then let's fight. Even if you can defeat me, don't even think about having it easy, said the holy monarch water and fire coldly as he gritted his teeth. He had already prepared himself for a lose-lose situation. Even if the flame demon sovereign were to snatch the temporal fragment in the end, he would still make the other party pay a hefty price. As for death, that was not to the extent of it. After all, not everyone was as abnormal as Yi Shiwen, who could slaughter sovereign emperors as if they were chickens and dogs. All right, then I'll beat you until you hand it over, the flame demon sovereign sneered. Countless flames spurted out from his body, forming scarlet chains. These scarlet chains were condensed from the endless laws of fire. They appeared ferocious and tyrannical. Whoosh! These scarlet chains instantly rushed towards the holy monarch water and fire at lightning speed. Using the laws of fire to injure people in mid-air was something that could only be done when one had an extremely profound understanding of the laws of fire. The holy monarch water and fire's body also flickered with the radiance of the laws of fire. Since the laws of fire had been snatched by the flame demon sovereign first, the holy monarch water and fire's body flashed with blue water attribute laws. These laws transformed into long spears, and met the attacks at the same time. Boom! 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 The two completely different forces of water and fire burst out at this moment. Water could subdue fire, this was common knowledge. However, that was only under normal circumstances. This flame demon emperor had clearly comprehended the law of fire to an extremely high level. The law of fire and divine ability that he unleashed actually countered the water-fire Saint Emperor's water-fire Saint Emperor's divine ability. The water-attributed magical abilities cast by the holy monarch water and fire were beaten back bit by bit. Countless water-attributed magical abilities that had just formed within the laws of fire were extinguished before they could even be blasted out. The laws of fire and water might not be strong or weak, but there was a clear disparity in the cultivation of the two. The holy monarch water and fire was only at the 4th realm, while the flame demon sovereign was at the 5th realm. No matter how astonishing the holy monarch water and fire's cultivation of the laws of fire was, he was completely powerless in the face of the suppression of cultivation. Refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, the scarlet divine chains of the flame demon sovereign pierced through the endless waves and slammed into the holy monarch water and fire. Bang! The holy monarch water and fire groaned and was sent flying on the spot. His chest was already a bloody mess. Clang! At this moment, a demonic blood sword chi instantly slashed down from the void, targeting the flame demon sovereign who was about to attack further. The sword chi was like a heavenly pillar, shooting straight into the sky. When it reached its peak, it began to slash down. The Flame Demon Emperor had originally planned to take things one step further by forcing the Saint Emperor of Water and Fire to kill him and force him to reveal the fragment of time. He had not even thought that someone would be lurking in the dark right in front of him and attack him directly. The sword light carried an astonishing murderous aura. It was fast and ruthless as it slashed down like a bolt of lightning. Damn it, how could this be? The Flame Demon Sovereign was both shocked and angry. He was a dignified Fifth Realm Sovereign Emperor expert. What kind of person was he? He was one of the most powerful people in the universe, but now someone had gotten so close to him, and he didn't even notice it. What did this mean? It meant that if someone had tried to assassinate him just now, he wouldn't have noticed it at all. This was a humiliation for him, and it also served as a warning. If he wasn't careful, he would really be beheaded next time. However, these thoughts only flashed through his mind for a moment. In fact, the speed at which the sword chi slashed down was faster than he had imagined. It was so fast that he didn't even have much time to think before he was hit. Bang! A flaming armor appeared on his body and protected him. It was a type of law armor, and the attacks of ordinary sovereign emperors couldn't even think of penetrating this armor. However, this sword instantly shattered the armor, and then the sword fell on the body of the flame demon sovereign. Roar! When the flame demon emperor was slashed, he immediately roared in pain. A huge crack appeared on his body. After being slashed by the swordlight, his body was almost split into two. The wound even turned into magma. The flame demon sovereign was a powerful race that was born in endless magma, and the flame demon sovereign was one of the best among them. He was an invincible emperor. What flowed in his body wasn't blood, but magma, which was completely different from other creatures. Who dares to attack me? The flame demon sovereign retreated several hundred kilometers away, avoiding the aftermath of the sword light. At the same time, the wounds on his body began to heal rapidly, and the law that belonged to the sovereign Tao appeared at an astonishing speed. This sword qi is. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire recognized this sword qi almost immediately. Yi Shiwen had relied on this sword qi when he had killed several emperor-level creatures and sovereign emperors. It was the sword qi that seemed to have transformed into a Vichy hell. Martial Emperor! He was immediately overjoyed. Yi Shiwen's appearance at this time was undoubtedly a ray of hope in his despair. Who? The flame demon sovereign stared in the direction where the sword light had slashed down. Holy Emperor of Water and Fire, it seems like you're in some trouble. Yi Shiwen's figure slowly appeared, and there was a faint smile on his face. You were the one who attacked me just now? The flame demon sovereign stared coldly at Yi Shiwen, and a supreme aura erupted from his body. This aura was rising to the limit, and it was the power of a supreme emperor. He could already feel how terrifying this person in front of him was. If he didn't go all out, he might not be able to deal with him. Chapter 3093. This flame demon emperor could clearly sense a terrifying aura coming from Yi Shiwen's body, which gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. So what if I am? Yi Shiwen had a calm smile on his face. This is a flame demon emperor. I didn't expect to see such a creature here. Isn't it supposed to be in the outer domain of the Far West? The outer domain referred to by the Fortune Divine Dynasty was extremely vast, and the Stormy Sea region was merely a part of it. Apart from the Stormy Sea region, there was also an extremely vast outer domain. The flame demon was an extremely terrifying creature that only existed in the Far West region. The best of the flame demons could even break through to become an emperor-level creature. Even among the many outer domain creatures, they were considered to be at the top. A race that could give birth to an emperor-level creature was the royal race among the outer domain creatures. However, it was extremely rare to see such a race in the eastern Stormy Sea region, even more so for the emperor-level creatures. This was because although the emperor-level creatures among the outer domain creatures could rival the emperor-level creatures, most of them were bound to their own race and wouldn't leave easily, let alone come to the Stormy Sea region that was thousands of miles away. The aura on this flame demon emperor's body continued to increase. Great Tao patterns formed around his body, and the heaven and earth under his feet evolved into fire attribute array patterns. This was the first time his aura had climbed to the peak. This had never happened even when he was dealing with the fire and water divine emperors. He knew that this person in front of him was definitely different from the fire and water divine emperors. This was an aura that could only be sensed at the fifth realm. Endless flames instantly turned into a sea of fire that spread out in all directions. Then, a matchless aura spread out and shook the world. Clang! A flaming long saber suddenly appeared in the flame demon emperor's hand. This flaming long saber slashed down in Yi Shiwen's direction at an astonishing speed. The flame demon emperor was already doing his best. He didn't want to talk to Yi Shiwen at this time. The Emperor-level creature and the Emperor-level creature were simply fated enemies. Once they met, they would fight to the death. This was the continuation of two races and two civilizations. Now, it was obvious that Yi Shiwen wouldn't let him off so easily. That's all there is to it. His left hand turned into the overturning sky seal. The martial emperor seal began to spin, and his right hand completely turned into the 6 paths of reincarnation fist. One punch and one seal, unparalleled fierceness, shocking the world. He charged directly at the flaming long saber. These were two transcendent martial arts. Anyone who possessed one of them would be able to dominate the world. However, he possessed both of them at the same time and had completely fused them together. That terrifying aura wreaked havoc on Yi Shiwen's body, and his hair fluttered in the wind. Boom! Yi Shiwen's fist fiercely collided with the flaming long blade. Suddenly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, and the world shook violently. What? You caught my flame saber with your bare hands! The Flame Demon Emperor was shocked. In order to refine this flame saber, he had devoured several earth veins and spent many years to finally complete it. Although it wasn't an invincible Taoist tool, the Emperor-level creatures also had their own means. They couldn't condense the principles into a Taoist tool like the Emperor-level creature because they didn't cultivate the principles. However, they could condense their own magical power as a foundation to condense their own magical power into a Taoist tool. The power of these magical tools wasn't inferior to Taoist tools. Some were even superior to ordinary Taoist tools. There were many ways to do this. Many of them even used their own bodies to refine Taoist tools. Therefore, he was very clear about how terrifying the power of his flame saber was. However, his saber had been blocked by a casual punch from the person in front of him. What kind of physical body is this? The Flame Demon Emperor was almost scared to death. His flame saber had slashed at Yi Shiwen's fist, but it had no effect at all. It had only left a white mark. Even the flame law that he was so proud of couldn't hurt his physical body at all. It's too early to be shocked. Yi Shiwen let out a long and domineering roar. His black hair was fluttering. On his left hand, the martial emperor seal rotated and smashed down with the overturning sky seal. On the overturning sky seal, the infinite principles turned into divine chains and spread in all directions. Each divine chain was directly inserted into the void. The power of heaven and earth seemed to be completely reversed at this moment. It flowed along the divine chains and integrated into the seal of the overturning sky seal. Every time the overturning sky seal fell, the heaven and earth collapsed an inch. As it smashed down, it directly smashed everything. Even the principles couldn't escape in the face of this power, and completely collapse. What kind of power is this? The divine Emperor of Water and Fire was completely shocked because he discovered that Yi Shiwen had become stronger. Although he hadn't broken through the boundary of the 5th realm, compared to the time when Yi Shiwen had saved them, he was undoubtedly many times stronger. How long has it been? How is this possible? How can he be so strong? The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire was also shocked by Yi Shiwen's progress. Such a speed of progress even shocked him. Because at this time, he vaguely remembered that when he first met Yi Shiwen, he didn't seem to be that strong. In the process of advancing, Yi Shiwen's cultivation had improved a step, and now it had improved a step further. From the initial stage of the 5th realm to the peak of the 5th realm. Such a speed of progress left him dumbfounded even though he knew the actual situation. After he stepped into the 4th realm, he cultivated to this step. Only he himself knew how much time he had spent. And how much time did Yi Shiwen spend to cultivate from the initial stage of the 5th realm to the peak of the 5th realm? At this time, a shocking speculation suddenly appeared in his mind. If this wasn't the limit of this person in front of him, then his future achievements were simply unbelievable. On the other side, the Flame Demon Emperor didn't think as much as he did. Because the moment his flame blade was blocked, Yi Shiwen's overturning sky seal directly smashed down. Bang! The armor condensed from the flame law on his body couldn't resist Yi Shiwen's martial emperor seal at all and collapsed on the spot. Bang! His body was blasted away again, and half of his body was almost destroyed by Yi Shiwen. Damn it, how can he be so strong? Magma splashed out of the Flame Demon Emperor's body. His entire body was composed of magma, and it was condensed from countless flame law. Rumble! The Flame Demon Emperor crashed into the ground fiercely, and a huge crack almost appeared on the entire ground. The whole crack quickly turned into a magma pool, and he hid in it. The entire ground was shaking, and under the Flame Demon Emperor's control, countless earth veins emerged from the depths of the ground bit by bit. The Flame Demon Emperor wanted to make the entire environment the most suitable for him to fight in. At the same time, he was also absorbing the power of these earth veins and recovering bit by bit. Martial Emperor, be careful! The Fire and Water Divine Emperor hurriedly reminded. Don't worry, he can't overturn the sky. Yi Shiwen smiled coldly. He didn't care about the Flame Demon Emperor at all. Yi Shiwen took a step forward, and his whole body was surging with a terrifying aura. His battle aura swept through the ages, and his body seemed to spread from one end of the river of time to the other end. His body was flowing with flowing lights, and he exuded the aura of a supreme expert. Just as the Fire and Water Divine Emperor had guessed, Yi Shiwen had already stepped into the peak of the fifth realm, and was truly invincible in this realm. Even if he encountered a sixth realm expert, he was confident that he could escape unscathed, let alone a fifth realm expert. I've just broken through, and I haven't fully grasped my power yet. It just so happens that someone has come to me to die. Get lost. In the endless magma pool, a huge hand evolved from magma instantly grabbed out of the void, and directly grabbed in Yi Shiwen's direction. Yi Shiwen was not afraid at all. He took a step forward, and endless golden light spread under his feet and crushed the huge hand on the spot. His whole body walked in the void, and with every step he took, the power of his body increased by a bit, as if there was no end. He was a supreme demon god walking between heaven and earth. It's useless if you're only at this level. Yi Shiwen's footsteps seemed slow, but they were actually very fast. In almost an instant, he had already arrived above the magma pool, and his whole body instantly spewed out endless Nanmingli fire, forming a flame domain. The magma was originally extremely hot, but it was instantly evaporated by the Nanmingli fire. The endless Nanmingli fire had already risen to the peak under Yi Shiwen's control. Even if the Phoenix ancestor was still alive, he would probably not be able to do much. In just a short time, more than half of the magma pool, which had originally spread for thousands of miles, had been evaporated by Yi Shiwen. It could not hurt Yi Shiwen at all, nor could it provide protection for the Fire Demon Emperor. Sure enough, Yi Shiwen immediately saw the Fire Demon Emperor in the center of the magma pool. Roar, die! The Fire Demon Emperor roared, and he opened his bloody mouth, spewing endless flames, forming a terrifying attack that blasted towards Yi Shiwen. Bang! Yi Shiwen merely waved his hand, and instantly dispersed this terrifying attack, smashing it into pieces. It could not affect him at all. After stepping into the peak of the fifth realm, Yi Shiwen's strength had simply taken a qualitative leap, and it was tyrannical to an unimaginable extent. The Fire Demon Emperor, who was also in the fifth realm, was simply too weak to withstand a single blow from Yi Shiwen, and was not even as strong as the Nine Changes Divine Emperor's performance. It's time to end this. Yi Shiwen's expression was cold. The martial emperor's seal above his head rotated, growing bigger and bigger, and finally fell in an instant. Chapter 3094. Boom! The martial emperor's seal fell, and a mushroom cloud slowly rose. The flame demon emperor's body completely exploded under the martial emperor's seal, and he was torn to pieces on the spot. Roar! The flame demon emperor's head, which had been blown away, roared in the void. But Yi Shiwen didn't give him the chance. He took a step forward, and the aura on his body became even more terrifying. Every pore on his body was spewing out terrifying power, and the surging vitality was earth-shattering. Yi Shiwen's strength turned the surrounding area into a deadland, and many creatures in the Pan-Heavenly Palace didn't dare to approach. A battle between sovereign emperors was not something ordinary creatures could intervene in. Whoosh! The Avicii sword in Yi Shiwen's hand slashed down, and the flame demon emperor's body, which had just been reconstructed, couldn't withstand it at all, and it exploded again. Yi Shiwen was like a robot, constantly slashing down, but it was just a mechanical slash. Each of these slashes could shatter heaven and earth, and now, all of them fell on the Flame Demon Emperor's body. Even with the Flame Demon Emperor's regenerative ability, it was of no use. The blood on his body was magma, and it splashed out directly. Every drop that fell would turn into a huge volcano, and it contained incredible power. This was the terror of Emperor-level creatures. But even so, under Yi Shiwen's attack, his incomparably tyrannical body was constantly being smashed by Yi Shiwen, and it was pierced through. Even though his spirit was hidden very deeply, and it was in harmony with the heavenly way, it was still useless under this level of attack. In the end, it was destroyed by Yi Shiwen's sword when it finally escaped, and the body was kept by Yi Shiwen, waiting to be exchanged for money. Another one killed. The Water-Fire Divine Emperor's face was a bit numb. Originally, witnessing the death of an emperor should have been a very big event, but now, after following Yi Shiwen for a while, he suddenly had this feeling that an emperor was not that big of a deal. One would die every few days, and as far as he knew, the emperor-level experts who died in Yi Shiwen's hands were enough to shock the world. It was unknown whether it would take hundreds of thousands of years or millions of years to cultivate an emperor-monarch-level expert. However, Yi Shiwen could kill such an expert in such a short time. He hadn't felt that his life would be in danger even in the most dangerous situation a moment ago. However, this Flame Demon Emperor hadn't even been able to withstand a few rounds in Yi Shiwen's hands. He had become stronger. He had become even stronger. He even had a feeling that if this trend continued, it would only be a matter of time before Yi Shiwen stepped into the sixth realm. Compared to the fifth realm, the sixth realm was a whole new realm, representing a whole new domain. It was already the peak of the mid-stage God-Monarch realm, and one more step and one would be a big shot in the Fortune God dynasty. Their words carried great weight, and no one dared to look down on them. Their status was completely different. Not everyone could step into the Sovereign Emperor realm. Although the advancement of the Sovereign Emperor realm required time, it didn't mean that it was useful. Many people were still at the first stage of the Sovereign Emperor realm after countless years. This kind of thing was very common. It was not rare. Because of this, Yi Shiwen's rapid advancement had given him such a big shock. This time, I'm indebted to Taoist Martial Emperor for your help. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire had an embarrassed look on his face. In such a short time, he had been saved by Yi Shiwen twice. This is what I should do. Taoist Martial Emperor of Water and Fire need not worry about it, Yi Shiwen said. Although he was acquainted with the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire, it didn't mean that he would definitely help. If the other party wasn't a foreign creature, but a sovereign emperor of the Fortune God dynasty, Yi Shiwen wouldn't necessarily help. The Fortune God dynasty was at war with foreign creatures, and both sides were already irreconcilable. No matter what he did, it would be politically correct. But if he got involved in a dispute between other forces of the Fortune God dynasty, then he needed to think carefully. Although Yi Shiwen wasn't afraid of trouble, if he got involved for someone else's matter, then it was worth thinking carefully. After all, His friendship with the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire hadn't reached that point. But I also have a question to ask you. Was the Flame Demon Emperor chasing you for the time fragment? Yi Shiwen asked. That's right, it was the time fragment. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire had no intention of hiding it, and readily admitted it. For this time fragment, he had been chased all the way here. If he hadn't met Yi Shiwen, the consequences would be unimaginable. He didn't know how much he would have to pay to escape. Yi Shiwen's eyes suddenly lit up. He remembered that he hadn't heard wrong. It was indeed the time fragment. If it was anything else, it might not have been able to lure him out. But the time fragment was different, because it was something he had been looking for all this time to repair the time robe. The time robe was unparalleled in both offense and defense, but similarly, its materials were very difficult to find. The most important was the time fragment. Yi Shiwen had searched for many years, but he hadn't found it. Now that he had information about the time fragment, how could he not be tempted? May I ask, Taoist Martial Emperor, where did you find this time fragment? Yi Shiwen asked. Taoist Martial Emperor still doesn't know? The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire couldn't help but look at Yi Shiwen with some surprise, and then immediately reacted. I see. Taoist Martial Emperor must have been in closed-door training during this time, so you didn't pay attention to the outside world. Otherwise, I don't need to tell you, Taoist Martial Emperor should also know. Then, I'll just draw a snake's legs and tell you. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire explained everything. Only then did Yi Shiwen know that during the few years he had been in closed-door training, another major event had happened in the Pan-Heavenly Palace. The people who had explored the depths of the Pan-Heavenly Palace had found a place called Time Valley. There were time fragments in this place, and it had attracted the attention of many sovereign emperors and emperor-level creatures. The law of time was one of the most mysterious and difficult to understand laws in the world. Usually, people could only comprehend it out of thin air, and the efficiency was extremely limited. But if they could obtain the time fragment, the speed would be completely different. The Time Lord had become an emperor with the help of the time law in the past. And he had obtained a fragment of the time law in the past. Later, Yi Shiwen had used this fragment to deduce the devil wings from the space wings to the time wings. How could he have accomplished this if he hadn't refined the time magic robe with the help of the time fragments? This was simply impossible. This had caused countless covetous eyes. However, there were many time fragments in the Time Valley. It was common knowledge that the influence of time didn't exist for the deities who had achieved the Tao. They had already transcended the river of time, and escaped from life and death. They had the same lifespan as the world. However, among these fragments of time, there were some terrifying ones that could even affect sovereign kings. Emperor-level lifeforms were extremely powerful. Although they couldn't see through life and death, they could still maintain their most powerful state until the moment they died. However, they were still turned into a pile of bones by these fragments of time laws. There were also sovereign emperors who were careless, and were cut into pieces and died tragically. There were even many powerful ancient vicious beasts that were born with the law of time, and they were extremely dangerous. It was not easy to obtain a time fragment. Because of this, the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire was not willing to give up after obtaining this time fragment, and would rather choose to fight. Time plus space was the universe, and everything else was just within the universe. Many other laws could be deduced from the law of time. Relying on this time fragment, the possibility of him entering the fifth realm had undoubtedly greatly increased. In short, my time fragment was found in the Valley of Time. With your strength, seizing a time fragment shouldn't be a problem at all. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire was slightly vigilant, fearing that Yi Shiwen would suddenly turn hostile. With their relationship, it wouldn't be an ordinary relationship. However, when it came to a divine object like the time fragment, it wasn't necessarily so. Although the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire hid it very well, Yi Shiwen still saw through it. However, he didn't care. After all, if he hadn't saved the Holy Emperor of Water and Fire twice before, they could only be regarded as strangers who met by chance. It was normal for the Holy Emperor to not trust him. The law of time. Yi Shiwen narrowed his eyes. Did you just say that an emperor-level creature directly turned into a skeleton under the effect of the law of time? Yes, that's right. It's just too dangerous. That's why I don't dare to touch those large fragments of the law of time. The fragment in my hand was obtained after killing a fierce beast in the Valley of Time. Holy Emperor Water and Fire said. In other words, the time fragment can even affect the time around the Emperor level. Yi Shiwen pursed his lips. Suddenly, he thought of an extremely crazy idea. In the time fragment, it can even speed up cultivation. What? The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire's eyes widened, staring at Yi Shiwen. He didn't expect Yi Shiwen to have such a crazy idea. Taoist Martial Emperor, don't joke around. Maybe you haven't experienced it yourself, so you don't know. Although the flow of time doesn't matter to us Emperor-level creatures, unlike Emperor-level creatures who can instantly turn into bones, the law of time is very corrosive. This is not a joke. The Holy Emperor of Water and Fire felt that he still needed to warn Yi Shiwen. This idea was very good, but the reality was very cruel. It wasn't that no one had thought of such an outcome, but the result was that the law of time would cut them in half, and the Emperor-level creatures would die tragically. The time fragments were too concentrated, too terrifying. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.